Hello! Hi, jurors! It's been so long. It's been so long. I'm so happy to digitally see you. I just imagine there's just like 100 plus people right here in the camera, and now I just made you dizzy by reaching. It's so great to see you all. Wow, what a 5-6 days, huh? 5 or 6 days. It's crazy. This is pretty much how the 5 or 6 days have gotten me. Yeah, pretty much. As if I didn't feel to begin with. But I do, and I did, and whoa, so many different things happening. Wow, where do I get started? I don't even know. Okay, so Sunday, crazy. Did not have enough time to get ready. Was not going to be the show that you all deserve, so we're postponing that until next Sunday. Assuming I can get everything recorded tonight, you will have a sidebar tomorrow, and I will be recording after this this stream, and so hopefully you have a sidebar tomorrow about the Shell Lake murders, and then Shireen's been working hard on the script for Sarah. So we will be hopefully recording that for Thursday as well to give you something in between the days that Night Court isn't. So yay! But what I want to do is I'd like to announce the first three, the top three. Oh my goodness! Thank you to the first three who were in the chat. You know, we're a little all out of practice, huh? A little all out of practice. It's been a little bit of time. That was an unnecessary sound effect that I'm not ready for yet. So thank you so much to the first three who have been in chat. Grab your throne, grab your rocking chair, and grab your beanbag with a complimentary plastic cover because it's been a little bit. So, you know, now you sit in it and dust, you know. So thank you for being here. Gossip. Yes, that's exactly what that means. And I hope Mr. Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo knows. So there's a lot of us, you know, there's a lot of us here. So there have been a couple of things that happened both right before the stream and just now. And let me make sure that I get it right. Kelly Gale became a new member. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate you. Grab your Kool-Aid with a C and an E because of copyright infringement, and then grab your juror chair as well. And pull up a seat by doing exclamation point seat. I don't know why I made it exclamation point. It sounds really weird. So, you know, hop in the portal and join us. I am still sitting here with this microphone. However, I did get a new toy in the mail thanks to one of the wonderful jurors, and I just have not had time to sit down and figure it out. And so, you know, I have a feeling it's going to be harder than I think to set up. And I am just setting myself up for the sound effects now, and it's just really sad. Microphone, figure yourself out. Get your stuff together. If I got my stuff together, you can get your stuff together. In addition, we also have a Mr. Ricky Watson, who gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. Thanks, Ricky. So City Kitty 865, you're back to green. Queen Swope back to green. Lindsay Hendricks back to green. The Advocate back to green. And Jess Dawson. I don't know if you've been green before, but now you are. Now you are. So either refill your Kool-Aid that had fallen. Oh my goodness gracious. My mic is just something else tonight. Yes. Okay. All right. Touch nothing. Nobody breathe. All right. I'm going to need to get I'm going to need to get duct tape. Duct tape and rubber bands solves everything. But yeah, grab your Kool-Aid and your juror chair. We never really for those of you who already had one, we didn't really take off we didn't take off your name. So it's still there. Just grab it. And Jess, if you have not been with us, now you are. Welcome. Yes, it is a mic with an attitude. Absolutely. Just a reminder, if your neighborhood's anything like mine, Benadryl your dogs because they don't care. Benadryl is okay for dogs in limited quantities. Just make sure you read dosage and dosing. Google it. Also, make sure your dog's not allergic. So all those things. I received in the mail. This is really funny. So I received in the mail a package, and it was wrapped. So it was like a little manila envelope, and it was wrapped in plastic, and it said, "You are very important to us. We are sorry we damaged your parcel," which indicates the complete opposite, I think. And so I opened it up, and I don't know how long this has been in the mail. I don't, but Matthew Harris Law hooked me up with some stuff, which is great. I think this is a Band-Aid holder, which is very helpful when you have children. So I'm happy to have this. So thank you very much, Matthew Harris Law. You can check him out on his channel. You can search Matthew Harris Law, or I think one of our mods will probably put the command in the chat. And go subscribe. He's got a lot of good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I know that fireworks are. Listen, fireworks are cool. I love fireworks. I like setting fireworks off, but I also like adhering to at least this state's laws, where you can't have things that fly way up in the air and explode. Not the opinion of everybody in my neighborhood. So, yes. Woohoo. Yeah, Matthew is awesome. He's fantastic. Check him out. A lot of good stuff that I've learned from him. So, very happy about that. Oh, good grief. Stella update. Still par for the course. The mild sedative pain med is doing its job. Something is on the way. Frankie had obviously heard the story about Stella and sent something to me. And so it's coming. It hasn't been here yet, or it's not here yet, but I look forward to taking a look at it, talking to the vet, and hopefully utilizing it for Stella. It is an herb of sorts, but it has apparently been successful on her end in terms of people she's known and herself. So I'm excited to try that out. BuffyBot, it's hard. It's absolutely hard. And this past Saturday, where I mascot, they had the fireworks, and I mean, they're gorgeous. And of course, as a mascot, I was loving them. At the same time, all I could think of was kids who do have sensory things going on, but also, folks with soldiers or first responders with PTSD and loud noises and those kind of things just kind of kick up. That's always in the foreground of my head. It's not great for everybody. And for those kind of, events, should you stop doing fireworks altogether? No. Definitely give people enough time to get out before you start, right? Which I think they gave 15 to 25 minutes, which I think is a good amount of time to get in your car and start heading out, especially if it's not everybody. So, hello, you made it. But yeah, so Stella's where she's at. And but she's still eating, she's still drinking, she's still walking around, she's tired, but that's about it. In fact, Stella's like a cat. If it fits, she sits. And yesterday we were rebuilding the pantry, and Stella decided, hey, there's a box. Hop right into it. So she's doing really well. Also, cool news. I installed a portable AC unit over here. And so now I'm not going to be sweating like a madman all night long. Because apparently rooms over garages, I knew this, are hot. Okay, so I've delayed long enough. I think there's a chunk of people in here, and I think you all will be excited. We have decided to announce this tonight, and I'm very excited. So much so that the reason I was late was because I wanted to create a video to announce it. And I will get more into detail after the video. So, I guess the question is, are you ready? Don't worry, I'll wait. Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. There you are, Frankie. Hi, Gracie. Everybody's ready. Let's go. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Hey! I just screamed in your ear, and I'm very sorry about that. Kind of. Sorry, not sorry. I know it's very anticlimactic, but here we are. Oh, thanks. Thanks to our bailiffs who did the groundwork and the rest of our mods who did the testing, we now have a Discord. And I'm very, very, very excited about it. There's going to be so much. Yes, the music, right? The music. Tell me the music was not perfect. Tell me it was not perfect. It screamed 80s. It screamed like I'm at that moment at the very end of a movie where you're going to cry and just pop up your arm. Don't you forget about me. Oh my gosh. So, yes. Yep. Sure is. It sure is. And I'm going to show it to you. So, look. Boom. Boom. There it is. There is our. There it is. There's your invite. So, it's going to be exciting. There's so much stuff there. And I am so excited to show it to you. So much so I keep forgetting to bring it up. All right. Dring. Okay, and I'm going to show it to you one at a time. Somebody's already hopped in. I'll let you guess who hopped in. I think you all know. I think you all know. All right. Let me show you this. I'm very excited. All right. Welcome to the jury room. There is so much that is here, but at the same time, the organization is awesome. Everybody did such a good job with this, and I'm very grateful. This is something that I had not a hand in. Our bailiffs and our mods, I mean, just brilliant. And the bailiffs, the way they organized this, it's so good. I told them that at the risk of sounding corny, it's a love letter to our jurors, and we will announce this, repeatedly. So I'll let you know what it was. I was kind of surprised I had it just chilling. I don't know why I haven't used it before. So yes, let me see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I sure can. All right. So, welcome to the jury room. As you can, we'll get to events in a second, but of course, events or announcements, your rules. Definitely make sure take a look at the rules. Now, it looks like a lot, but it's not. It's really important that you take a look at those. It's really important to follow those, not only for the sake of the community, which I don't think there's a question, but also with you guys, but also for the sake of Discord, because we would hate to have something happen to our server because something happened. The jury instructions just tell you each channel and what each channel is for. Your resources, if you find yourself encountering difficult times, this is you're not alone, and so this is going to be a list of resources for you, and hopefully there's something there for you, and if there isn't, you can reach out to one of the admin, the mods, etc., and see if we can help you out. Ask a mod if you have questions about the rules of the server. New emojis and stickers. I love these. This just makes me happy right here. These two, and I know Brandy's gonna love these too. But most of the emojis that you see that are going to be in YouTube are also going to be available on Discord that you can use. Now, meet and greets. So jury summons. This is everybody who's whoa. Thanks everybody for joining. That's exciting. You also have the ability to meet the Discord staff. And you can click on their name and you can ask them questions and start the conversation. You can meet the YouTube mods. You can also meet the Facebook staff. And, of course, meet the members. So you can introduce yourself. You create a new post, you introduce yourself, and people can comment on the posts. It's really cool. Yes, USA and UK-based resources. We will make sure that we have those if we don't already, but we will. Shireen will see to it. So that's the meet and greet section. Events. We have upcoming events. As you can see, we have one already on Thursday. So if you're in the Discord, get ready, because Thursday on the 6th of July at 8 p.m., we are going to be watching Jodi Arias' Dirty Little Secret on Discord. I probably shouldn't have said that out loud, but here we are. So you can join and we'll be watching and you can enjoy it together. So hit the interested button and it'll notify you on Discord when things go live. You also have the ability to host events. So you read those instructions and take a look. And then as well, the event stage, which is where the events happen. Now, the fun part. Well, everything's a fun part, to be honest with you. Community. So we've got chit chat. So this is where this is the general chat. Woof. Yes, that's how I feel right there. Right there. We will have a question of the day where you can answer a question that is from, wow. Oh boy. Obviously, you can tell we've been testing things out. We have been testing things out. So the question of the day bot will give you a question every day, and you can answer it. Today's was, if you can bring back any fashion trend, what would it be? Of course, we have a channel for memes and GIFs. We have a channel for selfies, in which you will see that I have lovingly placed my duck face right here because I believe in participating. Pictures, pet pictures, because come on, y'all. You know that we love our pictures of our pets. Let's see if I can find that picture of Stella in a box, because I'm pretty sure I shared it. That was definitely a walrus. There she is. There's Stella in a box. All right, foodie pics. Foodie pics. It sounds like nudie pics, but don't confuse those. Show off your merch. Celebrations. Support each other. And then a vocal, an audio hangout. Now you'll notice that while I do this, I am also minimizing the sections. You can do that if you feel like if you're somebody who gets overwhelmed by just the list of things, you can minimize each section, and it will only pop up the channels that have something new in them. So that's hopefully helpful to you all. There's Lisa. She just joined the events section. All right, deliberations. So these are so. I can't. Okay. So this is where we will post the links, but also this is where we will allow for obvious extended chat. Sometimes day court gets a little busy, and so if you want to come over to us, over to the Discord and talk talk here with everybody, you're more than welcome to. Same thing with WTF. Same thing with Sidebar. Special guest interviews. You can do all of that right here under deliberations. Then the 13th Juror. These are where you would share some of the best and funny clips and screenshots from the live shows. You guys are great at picking those out. And so I'm very happy. Look, for instance, Brandi's in a suit and tie. Then we also, under 13th Juror, have friends of the channel. I really need to minimize. There you go. Okay. So you can see the friends of the channel here. So this is most people who have been on. These are links that we have to literally all of our friends. If we can't fit it on YouTube, we're going to pop it in here. And so, like, for instance, Matthew Harris Law. You can click on the YouTube link here and go and subscribe to him. Same thing with Defense Diaries, Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo, Recovery Addict, of course, Slick's Barbecue. Check it out. It's the official barbecue of the channel. Wiggle Styles, True Consequences, just a little bit of, As the Gavel Drops. As you know, we have a strong tie with ATGD. And so this is something where you can check out. You can click on As the Gavel Drops and invite. I already, I'm already joined, so of course that's invalid. Leave some love. So kind words of encouragement for, I guess, for us, also for our hosts, etc., or our mods as well. Shop merch. I will figure out what's going on there. That's probably just me. Social media links as well. So all of our stuff, it's a one-stop shop. Now, out of all of this, and there's a lot, look at you all. Look at you. This is all you guys. One of the things that I really love that the bailiffs put together and the mods thought was a good idea was these suggestions. So not only are there Discord server suggestions where you can offer, you can give us some suggestions, but merch suggestions. So if you think about something in terms of merch and you're interested, awesome. Day court case suggestions, night court case suggestions, WTF clip suggestions. So your WTF moment suggestions, that helps us out, but also hopefully we're not only are we able to show that, but we're able to attribute it to you. And then sidebar suggestions as well, and special guests. So much, but so exciting, and it's so well organized that it's just, it's just clean. And I told them, like I said, it's a love letter to you all, and all of our mods were viewers first, and so it's by viewers for viewers, and so we're very excited to share this with you, and I'm very excited with the amount of folks that have hopped on so far. So again, if you have any questions, you can ask any of our mods about it. They'll help you out. And so I hope that you love it. I love it already. I did mention something that I really wanted to make sure of was that I'm not a mod on that channel. I'm not an admin on that channel. I am a participant just like each one of you. But that is something that, yes, we do. But I wanted to be a participant like each one of you. And our mods will be controlling that server. And so I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited just to be with you all as a participant. And so what you saw on that Discord, that's me in the same kind of role as you all would be signing in. So that's exactly what you would see. There's nothing extra. That's it. And so I hope that you really love it. Yes. Yeah. As the Gavel Drops is still your go-to resource for all court documents. It's still your go-to resource for all of that. We're not going to have court documents on our server. This is a place for jurors to talk to each other, to share stories, to share photos, to talk just about the actual streams. So all of your court documents, if you want court documents, join As the Gavel Drops. They have all of that stuff. That is something that we talked about, me and the bailiffs. You cannot at all replace, duplicate, whatever As the Gavel Drops. They do so much work, and I'm happy to be on the side. I need to do more for them on the side of the mods for as the gavel drops. But that will always be your go-to for court documents and resources. And so I always, hopefully my plan is I would love to have it work in tandem, if that makes sense. So yes. And there it is. See, there it is. Yes, I'm very excited. Very excited. Um, my mind is blown every day. All of our mods, just all the time that they spend is just awesome. And I know that oh, hold on, wait a second. Just got an announcement. Hey, Jill, thank you so much. Jill this is what I this yeah, that's going to be one of the main ones for gifts now. Now that I have these sound effects. Jill, thank you so much for gifting 10 memberships. Really appreciate that a lot. So let's see. Dusty Den, Michelle Johnson, Cece, Eddie Jr., Ashley, Dawn, Mary Kay, Nursey Dog Mom, Stephanie Scott, Angie Burr. Welcome back. I think most of you have been members before, but welcome back. And if you haven't, welcome. Grab that Kool-Aid. Grab that juror seat. I really wish that I could pick, I should have done something different than exclamation point, but exclamation point seat, and bring, you'll have your seat pulled up. Oh my goodness gracious. I am just so excited. She did. She did. It happened. The most positive love bomb ever. I love it. Yeah, it's all them. It's all them. In fact, like I knew it was being put together, but I specifically asked that they didn't invite me until like 2 days ago. So all of them. I didn't even. In fact, I spent so little time commenting and stuff in terms of feedback and letting all of the rest of our mods give feedback and thoughts like that are the bailiffs. They were like, so do you like it? Do you not like it? Can you give us some thoughts? I was like, I'm sorry, just ask next time. Yes, I love it so much. Love it so much. So awesome. Things are getting crazy. I did want to I'll show you this gift. I'm talking outside of the mic. I'm making bad choices. But I'm very excited about this. It's a broadcast mixer. And it's got a preamp in it that should be able to handle that microphone. But yeah, so moving on up. I'm very excited to plug it in and try it. So yes. All right, y'all. So much happened in the beginning in 28 minutes. Candace, we're all here for you to figure it out. I'm telling you, like in was it like 18 or 19? I don't know. A few years ago, I joined and I was just like, what do I do with this Discord? But I think the easiest way I can explain it. Oh no, not just the testers. You don't understand. that is an important part of this. Not only the psychology behind it to make sure that it works and is logical and makes sense. All of that is very important. That is key. And so thank you to everybody who tested. That is huge. What was I saying? Somebody had something up here, and God, this microphone has an attitude today, and I needed to get together. Oh yeah, Discord. Think of Discord as one of the more, maybe not the content, but the organization is very logic based. So there's subjects, and then within the subjects are channels, and then each channel has its own section. So basically, it just opens up from left to right, and yeah, it's something that we definitely can walk you through. It's really not that hard. And so I think it's time. To hop into the next thing about Jodi, Miss Arias. I don't even want to call her Jody. So I'm not going to. Yeah, it is a 2D mic. It's very much a 2D mic. We don't like it. We don't like it. So now, yes. So now there is the Discord and the link tree. So yay. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you what, this Mike and I are going to have a fight. We are going to fight. I might have to try and set up the other thing while we're watching. So you might just have to put up with me for a bit while we're watching, so I won't have a mic. But hey, it happens. What are you gonna do? Don't worry, we will walk you through it. Jodi Hot Mess Arias. I can do that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, so let's hop into this, shall we? And let me pop that up. Airhead Arias, yes. Yes, it's all fancy like and whatnot. Also, don't forget, we are looking for more mods. We are looking for more mods for the channel. We had 12 applications come through. We're going through those now, and it's rolling. So we're always looking for more. When in which time we have enough, we will close it, but then open it back up when we need more mods. But we definitely want, and I think the mods agree with me, we definitely want more great people that mesh with the current mods and the channel to help take some of the weight off of our current mods, because there's a lot that we do, and there's a lot that this just expanded. And so it's very helpful to have more people, but also emphasizing quality over quantity. I think that's really important. And meshing is one of the big things. So, oh, well, thank you. All right, let's hit play. And I'm going to try and handle this microphone situation yesterday.
Ms. Arias, before lunch, we were talking about the time, a weekend that you and some fellow members of Prepaid Legal were spending with Mr. Alexander, and that was his home. Is that right?
Yes.
You were talking about, you mentioned an individual by the name of Deanna. Did Deanna have a last name?
Reed.
Okay. And this Miss Reed, what was your understanding of who she was?
My understanding was that she was an ex-girlfriend.
An ex-girlfriend of Mr.
Travis.
Alexander's?
Yes, of Travis's. That she was somebody Travis had once been very serious with, that he was once in love with, and they were both in love, and they separated. A lot of the history I know is through Travis.
Okay.
I mean, all of it, really.
Okay,
And
well, that's
his
fine.
friends.
Were you instructed to act a certain way with Travis when Miss Reed was present?
Yes.
How was that?
He warned me that she was emotionally unstable and that she would freak out if she saw him with other girls or if he attempted to move on anytime he tried to date somebody.
Did you see, I take it, and maybe I'm incorrect, was this the first time you met Miss Reed was in December 2006?
It's the first time I saw her. I don't recall meeting her. He advised me to steer clear of her at his house. So I didn't, seize the opportunity to go introduce myself or anything like that.
Okay. These instructions, if you will, that were given to you regarding Miss Reed, was that some sort of constant dictate throughout the course of your relationship with Mr. Alexander?
Yes, the entire time, even after we eventually broke up.
Okay. Because you weren't boyfriend and girlfriend in December 2006, correct?
No, we were not.
Okay. In that regard, you mentioned and we'll talk up into from the time you met Mr. Alexander to the time you're at his home in Mesa, 2006 for the first time. Were you dating other people?
There were, I was asked out on a few dates. Some I turned down and one I accepted during that time.
Did Mr. Alexander know about these dates?
Yes, he knew about when I was asked, and I think I did tell him. I don't remember. It was a church member. I don't remember if I told him.
Houston, we have a problem.
All right. Before we move past December 2006, based on what you're telling us earlier, there was no sexual interaction between you and Travis during this weekend.
No, there were insinuations after everyone went to sleep, but he seemed almost paranoid that. Sorry.
May we approach, Your Honor? We were talking about the fact that that no sexual interaction took place between you and Mr. Alexander, and you were explaining how he was paranoid about being caught. Is that right?
Yeah, he seemed hyper.
Note to self, plug in another audio interface and it redirects the audio. Oops. Sorry. Still a problem? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna fix it.
There were two ladies that were sleeping in his bed upstairs.
Hopefully that fixed it.
Even after all the lights were out and it was dark, we
Sorry,
were
everybody.
laying on the couch talking, and
Serves me right for trying to fiddle around.
he had his hand laying like that, just off the couch, and I just put my hand out and just touched his fingers. You know, nothing erotic or anything, just being affectionate. And he kind of pulled away and sat up and looked around to see if anyone was awake, and then he just kind of turned over toward me, but didn't reach out anymore.
So based on your interaction with him over the weekend, you were left with the impression that he certainly didn't want anyone to know that you were involved in any way.
Objection, leading speculation.
Rephrase.
Based on this conduct, when he pulls his hand away out of fear of being seen, did that leave you with the impression that Mr. Alexander didn't want people to know that you were any way intimately involved with him?
Objection, speculation. Maybe he didn't want to have sex with her.
Overruled.
Yes.
Were you there the weekend to have sex with Mr. Alexander?
No, it was a business trip. I was excited to see him because I liked him, but no, definitely not for that.
Were you hoping he might bend you over the bed and have anal sex with you?
No.
I see.
Now, you didn't have any physical or romantic contact with him this weekend because other people were there and he wanted to keep it a secret. That was your understanding.
Yes, well, there was one romantic gesture as I was leaving.
And where did that take place?
He walked me out to my car to load up the bags, or my luggage, and his friend Chris was sitting in their Lexus SUV on the street, and he was on the phone facing, because we were in the driveway and he would have been facing west because he was parked up near the house. And my car was parked in the driveway. And after the trunk shut, he looked around and saw that Chris had his back to us and he was on the phone and he said, "Here, kiss me quick while no one's looking." And so we just kissed, it was a brief kiss. And that was it. Sorry.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. At this point in time, you had engaged in several, maybe half dozen, maybe not quite a half dozen instances of sexual contact with Mr. Alexander, right?
Yeah, well, how many did you say?
Well, around a half dozen, give or take, probably a few less.
Something close to that.
Okay. And he doesn't want anyone seemingly to know that you have any sort of relationship in December 2006. So my question to you then is, how did that make you feel?
I didn't give it too much thought. It didn't make me feel good, but it didn't make me upset. It just sort of, it's something I kept ignoring and putting out of my mind and just ignoring.
Okay. So you weren't mad at him?
No.
Did you ever think at this point in time, I'm done with this guy?
Maybe not in the context that I think you're putting it.
Okay. Well, what context was it then? I mean, at this point in time, you didn't say, "Gee whiz, we're doing all this activity. He doesn't even want to hold my hand in public. It's time to end this."
It bothered me a little bit, but we talked about the status of our relationship the next day.
And based on that conversation, use the word status, what was the status of your relationship based on this conversation? To your understanding, what was the status?
After talking, I was encouraged to date other people.
And, we talked a moment ago about, how you were asked out on one date or asked out on a few dates before December. At this point in time, when you're going to Ehrenberg and all those things, were you of the mind that Mr. Alexander wasn't dating anyone else?
I had that impression. I found out it was false.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a bit. But in January of 2007, or after December 2006, excuse me, you said that you were encouraged to date
There are the fireworks.
other individuals.
Yes.
Okay. Was there a certain type of individual you were encouraged to date?
Yes, he wasn't specific that first time, but then he got more specific afterward.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did you go on dates?
Yes.
Do you know, to your knowledge, did Mr. Alexander learn about these dates?
Yes.
And where were these, you were in, is this in December or is this in January of the following year?
I think it would have been January.
And you're still living in Palm, I got the sense that maybe you were moved out of your Palm Desert home by then. Is that?
No, I stayed in Palm Desert until early May, I think.
Okay. So you were back in, did these dates take place in Palm Desert?
No,
Where did they take place?
Pasadena.
Okay. And was there one particular individual? Did you go on several dates?
I went on dates with two different individuals. Yeah, two official dates.
Two actual dates. And you mentioned Pasadena. You weren't living there. Why were these dates taking place in Pasadena?
I had a doctor's appointment in Pasadena. So there was a guy that I had met. He was sitting next to me at the Super Saturday event, the one that I was texting Travis at. And he was very lively and he asked me out, not right away. He was talking to me, getting to know me during the event, and then said, I don't remember how he worded it, but maybe we should go out sometime.
And this Super Saturday that you met this particular individual, when did this take place?
It would have been the same date as the photograph, so November 11th, 2006.
And did this individual ask you out on the 11th of November 2006?
Yes, but nothing confirmed or concrete. He just threw it out there and I said, okay, maybe, sure, you know.
Did you feel like it would have been, at that point in time, considering your relationship with Mr. Alexander, that it would have been inappropriate for you to date this individual?
Not just a date, I wouldn't have considered it inappropriate.
Totes
I don't
inappropriate.
think so.
You would or wouldn't have?
I would not have if it was just a date.
Okay.
Not
So
today,
you
Satan.
run into
Not
this
today.
individual again down the road.
Yes.
You mentioned Pasadena. You have a date with this individual.
We agreed to meet in Pasadena.
Okay. And who was this person?
His name is Abe Abdulhadi.
Ah, there he is. Abe shows up.
And how many dates did you have
Y'all
with
pity the fool.
Mr. Abdulhadi?
Just one.
And you dated another individual, you said?
I went on what I thought was going to be a date. It turned out to be more platonic, and that was someone else.
And who was that?
His name is John
John what?
Dixon.
Okay. So you said the date with Mr. Dixon was, if I heard you correctly, platonic, right?
He invited me to get lunch. We got sushi, we chit-chatted. I didn't get any vibes or major chemistry. We were just friendly. So that's the impression I was left with.
Okay. And the date with Mr. Abdulhadi, was that more, or I should say, was that a less platonic situation?
It developed into that, sort of, but, you know, I mean, I don't know, we were just on a date, so he wasn't as, I don't know how to put it. It was different from the lunch date that I had.
Did Mr. Alexander know of these dates?
Yes. He didn't know prior, but
Okay.
he knew afterward.
How did he know? Did you tell him?
I didn't answer my phone that night. So, because I went to hang out with John Dixon again, and it was again platonic. He wanted to show me,
She's not responsive.
sorry, I get distracted.
Why were you with John Dixon again?
He invited me over to show me clips from a movie he was directing. And he just played some of those clips on his computer. And we watched some clips from Pirates of the Caribbean. And that was it. I think we might have hugged when I left. I don't remember.
Hello, Poppy.
And
Looks like they.
it was at
queued me
this
up.
time, I believe you're telling us, that Mr. Alexander called and you weren't able to take his call at that moment.
Yes.
Was he angry that you didn't respond to his call or weren't there to answer his phone call?
He wasn't angry, just inquisitive.
And that inquisition, if you will, led to you describing the fact that you were with Mr. Dixon.
Yes.
And how did that sit with Travis?
He wasn't warmly received. He didn't appear to get angry, but I could tell he was upset in the way he was, in his tone, his mood changed.
What about the date with Mr. Abduhadi? How did Travis come to learn of that date?
Same
Raising.
conversation because both of those dates were on the same day in Pasadena.
Okay. Was his distaste for your date with Mr. Abduhadi, was it different than that with John Dixon?
Objection, Sue's passed out of it.
She didn't say he was distasteful. She characterized it differently. Overruled.
Can you say that question again? Sorry.
I'm going to try. Was Travis angry about your date with Mr. Abduhadi?
It appeared to me, or it seemed to me, it was over the phone, so I didn't see him, but from the tone of his voice, he seemed upset.
Was that at a different level or different reaction than it is related to Mr. Dixon?
I think it was all sort of cumulative.
Well, you mentioned the fact that as far as being encouraged to date, you said that there were certain people eventually thought didn't matter what kind of person you were encouraged to date. Then you said later on you were encouraged to date a particular type of person. So what I was asking is there some difference between Mr. Abduhadi and Mr. Dixon that caused, to your understanding, extra anxiety with Mr. Alexander?
I think they were grouped the same because they weren't church members, and I was sort of reprimanded for that.
By Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
So it wasn't that they being Mr. Dixon, Mr. Abduhadi, were different from each other. The problem was, from your understanding, was that
She guilty.
they were both
As
not church
seen.
members, and Mr. Alexander wanted you to only date church members.
Yes.
I gotta ask, at this point in time, you've been encouraged to date. Why would you care, or why would you allow Mr. Alexander to have any input on who you dated?
I sort of felt that way when he said that. I'm thinking he can't tell me who to date. But he explained to me the importance of dating within the church, and it made sense to me, so I agreed with him.
You what?
I agreed with him.
Okay. So based on this conversation with Mr. Alexander, then you agreed to him that you're not
Be
going to
honest.
date outside the church. Is that what we're taking away from this?
I agreed with what he told me.
Okay. Now, the time period we're talking about was January 2007. And you told us that you and Travis officially became a couple in February of 2007, right?
Yes.
Okay. How did it go from you dating other people him encouraging you to dating other people to this relationship, this
Hi,
boyfriend and
Jennifer.
girlfriend. Right?
I was asking if you could hear the AC.
He was, a lot of things happened in that 3-week period.
Well, let's talk about that. What happened from your perspective to get you from dating other individuals to being Travis's girlfriend?
Well, the first thing I did is he hung up on me that night. He was upset. And so it kind of jarred me a little bit. So I decided to write him an email. And I don't know why, but I felt like I was cheating on him, even though he had told me to date other people. I felt guilty about it. And so I
You don't
expressed that to
do
him.
that. Sweet.
And
Awesome. Fantastic.
while I was writing the email, he sent me a text message. I don't know if I can see what it said.
Well,
Nope, sure can't.
you write in this email and you're expressing your feelings. Do you ever send it?
Yes.
Without telling us what was said, did this get to, is this kind of discontent that led to you two deciding, well, okay, that's it, we're going to be a couple? Is that what you're telling us?
Not in that moment. It was a process over a few weeks.
Okay. But that sort of thing led you, that sort of disconnect or feelings is what led you two to be a couple?
I think it sort of started us on the path
Okay.
to be more official.
Okay.
More official. But
So
we're
now when
Facebook
you
official.
say you and Travis
That's the question.
officially became a couple, what did that mean? Was there some sort of agreement, or you sat down and said you're not going to date other people? Tell us about the day that you and Travis became a couple, if you will.
I went out to his house that weekend, well, the first weekend of February. We hung out. We were watching, I don't know if you're watching a movie, we were on the internet, we were just reading books, we were just doing things in the house all day, hanging out. And we were each reading our
Thanks,
own
Ricky.
books.
I'll make sure
We
she
were
gets
sitting
it.
in this oversized chair next to his bed, just two of us squeezed into it,
Well, let me ask you that. Where were you?
in his bedroom.
Okay. What brought you to his home? And this is February. Do you remember the day?
Not exactly, but it would have been the 1st or the 2nd,
Okay.
maybe the 3rd.
So you go to his house in early February. Why were you there? I mean, there must have been some discussion about you coming to visit him, I assume. Is that right?
No, there wasn't actually.
Okay. Tell us how you came to see Mr. Alexander in early February.
Well, that month he showed up on my doorstep at 1:40 in the morning without warning. And that's when I met Dan Freeman. And so a few weeks later, I thought I would repay him in kind and surprise him as well.
Okay, before we fast forward back to February,
Hold your horses.
we heard about Mr. Freeman coming to your door at 1:40 in the morning, as you just talked about, and you and Travis went back to the bedroom. Is that accurate to your recollection?
Yes,
Mr. Freeman wasn't in that bedroom. Could you describe for us what happened in the bedroom while Mr. Freeman was outside of the door?
we just made out.
What do you mean, just made out?
It didn't go very far. We were just kissing and playing around and just having fun.
Okay. No oral sex?
No,
No anal sex?
no,
And your clothing stayed on?
yes.
Okay.
And I feel like that needs to be celebrated.
So after this, a few weeks later, you surprised Mr. Alexander in early February. Do you remember about what time you arrived in the home?
I had to work that night, so I hit the road. I don't remember. I think it was around 2:30 or 3 in the morning.
And you were coming from Palm Desert?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us what happened when you arrived.
I pulled up to his house and I was kind of excited the whole trip. I was like thinking, I mean, he thought it was hilarious when he came, so I thought it would be funny to do that.
Could you speak up a minute?
I'm sorry. But as I approached the door, I had doubts. I thought, I kind of felt stupid. I was like, what is he going to think if I'm showing up at his house at 3 o'clock in the morning? So I started to like go back and forth and waver, and then I walked back to my car, and then I stopped. I was going to get all the way in the car and just go back because I felt silly. But I turned around and looked at the house one more time, and I noticed in the upper window there were lights flashing, like that was the loft where the screen would have been for the television or movies or whatever.
Okay.
So somebody was awake. So I decided, okay, what the heck? So before I could change my mind, I went back to the front door and rang the doorbell.
Okay. And who answered the door?
Travis and Napoleon.
Okay. And Napoleon is his dog, right?
And
Yes.
we
I could hear him before anything else.
What's that?
I could hear him before anything else. He was
Okay.
barking very loudly when the doorbell rang.
Did Mr. Alexander appear to you to be happy to see you?
Yes, he looked very surprised and he had a big grin on his face.
Okay.
I bet he did.
What happened after that? Did he let you in the home? How did that go?
He pulled me into the house. It was cold out, so it was February, so I had a jacket on with a hood. And he just stood there, kind of a similar reaction to me when he showed up, just dumbfounded, but happy, like what the heck. And then his roommate came downstairs and Travis yanked the hood off my head and said, well, this is Jody. So,
And which roommate was that?
Thomas Brown.
Okay. So after you met Mr. Brown and he introduces you in the way he does, what takes place?
The three of us go upstairs and get comfortable on the love sacks. They're like giant bean bags. Travis and I took the center one, and
The love
then
sacks.
Thomas, I think, was on the other side.
It wasn't
He would have been
ours.
on my right.
Not our love sacks.
Okay.
Michelle, you asked what day we're on.
As far as, and now we're talking, I
We
know,
are
late in the night or
on-
early hours of the morning.
Day 15
What were your
of the trial.
sleeping arrangements in Mr. Alexander's home?
Well, based on the last time I was at his home and how he reacted, I told him it's okay if you want me to sleep on the couch. I'm okay with that. And he balked and insisted that I stay in his bedroom with him.
And did you end up spending the night in the bedroom?
Yes,
Did any sexual activity happen that night?
yes, it did happen that night and the next night.
I'm sorry, and you said the next night?
Yes.
Okay. What happened that first night?
I don't recall specifics. I just know that we were intimate. The same kinds of things we had done before, nothing different. No, except we did the anal sex briefly, but there was none of that.
Okay. And at this point in time as well, you had penile vaginal intercourse with Mr. Alexander, is that
No.
right? Okay.
Raising?
And did you stay the next day then?
Yes,
What did you do? What did you and Travis do?
we hung out all day. He was showing me a museum that had come through Phoenix recently. It was called Body World. He was showing me that museum online, and it had just left town. Otherwise, he wanted to go take me to see it, but it was gone.
That's a really cool exhibit.
So we just
actually.
hung out at the house. I'm trying to remember if we left. I think we stayed at the house all day and hung out.
Okay. So you don't recall going out to dinner, going out to a movie, anything like that? Stayed home all day?
No, we might have gone to grab a bite to eat, but I don't think so.
Okay. And I know you talked about, you spent the next night with him. That day, did any sexual activity happen during that day?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was at night.
Okay, so you spend all day there. Are his roommates home?
I don't remember if Thomas had to work or not during the day, but they were home. It was Thomas and I think Aaron Dewey.
Okay. When you were in front of the roommates, did he hold hands with you, put his arm around you, anything of that nature?
No, we stayed in the bedroom a lot, but when we hung out downstairs, if the roommates were there, we were just regular, like friends.
And I'm not talking from a sexual standpoint, but was he otherwise physically affectionate or expressive with you when you guys were behind the closed doors of his bedroom?
Yes.
So you spend 2 nights there. And you said this is a point in time that you became his girlfriend. What was the discussion then that got you to the point where you were to be his girlfriend?
Am I allowed to say what was said?
Well, did the two of you have a conversation?
No, you're not.
Yes.
You are not.
And what was the subject matter of that conversation?
My dating life.
And during that conversation, did Mr. Alexander express to you his desire that you not date other people?
Yes.
And how did you receive that?
Well, it was kind of a lighthearted conversation. I didn't know if he was joking or not because he was talking about my dating life, but not his. So I looked at him like, what do you mean by that? And then he clarified and kind of laughed.
You mentioned his dating life. Did you inquire if he was dating anyone else?
No, I didn't.
Did he offer up any information that he might be dating someone else?
Not during that conversation.
Ugh, this is unnecessary.
He did later. He offered him up himself.
Yes, I later found out he was dating a girl named Chelsea around the Christmas time. And it also would have been the time, I think, that I might have been in December, but I'm not sure. It was close to Christmas.
But this isn't something he volunteered to you at the time you were having this boyfriend-girlfriend talk, right?
No.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I think it was near Thanksgiving, actually, that they dated. I can't remember. It was the holiday,
Okay.
but they were separated by the time. I don't know. It's in his emails, so. it's
Okay.
fine.
Let me just fix this. Let me fix what I said.
So this moment in time that you became his girlfriend, were you happy about that?
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it. I don't know, we had made a lot of progress over the last 3 weeks because of some things that had happened involving some other friends of his. And he had seemed to really change and better himself, and he was treating me very nicely. And when we became what I believe was exclusive, then it just seemed like the natural next step.
What do you mean by some things that had happened with some friends of his? What do you mean by that? Without telling me specifically what was said.
Hi, Carmen.
Travis is, he was a funny guy and he would make
Sandra.
jokes a lot. And he made some jokes toward me that were not very nice, but they were jokes, but still didn't sit well with me. So I expressed that with some of his friends when we were hanging out. And they advised me to,
Objection, hearsay.
It's not being offered for the truth of matter asserted.
they advised me to stop dating him immediately.
These jokes,
Sure.
you characterize them as jokes. What do you mean? What would he say to you?
He called me a skank
In front of other people?
in front of his roommate, Josh Ward.
And he thought that was funny?
I didn't react, and he said, "I'm just kidding," very quickly.
He calls you a skank in front of a roommate of his. Why not just hightail it out of there?
We were on the phone actually when he said that. We were talking, and then he began to have a conversation with somebody else, so I waited. And then he apologized. He said, "Sorry, Josh just got home." I said, tell him I said hi. Jody says hi. And I could hear a muffled response in the background. It sounded friendly, but Travis said, he said, "You're a skank." So I knew that came from Travis, not Josh. And then he said, "I'm just kidding." So at that point, I didn't really know what to say. I just kind of,
I don't believe
in a
it.
polite way, got off the phone with him. And then the conversation with his friends
I mean,
ensued
maybe.
because I was at their house when that phone call took place.
You mentioned a couple other things. Did he call you other names in a supposed joking manner?
Yes.
I'm going to check.
Facts not in evidence. Josh Ford called her a skank. She interpreted that to be for Mr.
Judge,
Alexander.
that's not accurate of what he said. These objections are inappropriate, Judge. Not what she testified.
Restate your question. Overruled.
Carmen, thank you.
Did Mr.
so much.
Alexander call you
Thank you very, very
other
much
names besides skank in a joking
for
manner?
the super chat.
Yes.
I appreciate you. I appreciate
What were
Paul.
Called me Pollyanna. He called me porn star.
In front of people?
Pollyanna, yes. Porn star, no.
Okay. And what was the point of calling you Pollyanna?
At the time, I had long platinum blonde hair, and I think because my demeanor at that time was kind of happy-go-lucky, positive, shrug things off if they were negative. I always looked at the bright side of things. That's kind of how I expressed myself. So with that demeanor plus my blonde hair, and he wanted to have braids sometimes, so he gave me that nickname.
Okay. But he would call you Pollyanna in front of your friends as well.
Yes.
You mentioned that he referred to you as a skank, and this set off somewhat of a conversation with some friends of his about how he treated you, right?
Yes.
And in your mind, you said he was treating you better, so you felt as if these issues had been resolved and you were getting closer.
The issue was, like, the can of worms was opened when that happened, when he called me that, and then I voiced my concerns about it. Sort of opened up a can of worms, I guess.
Well, did it open up a dialogue that ultimately led to this resolution, I guess?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So you are early February, your boyfriend and girlfriend, these issues have been spilled out on the table and resolved, so to speak. Are you happy?
That day, yes.
Okay.
It was nice.
When you became his girlfriend, did the way he interacted with you in public, did that change?
Around Dan and Desiree Freeman, and I think his roommate Aaron Dewey, yes. But everyone else, no.
Okay. So you're telling us that you felt as it, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Was he treating you as a girlfriend in front of these people and not in front of others? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
You made the comment that you were happy for that day. Did something change rapidly to make you not so happy?
Yes.
What happened?
He got up, we had been looking at the Body World Museum, and we're looking at all these different, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but all these different body parts, and it was fascinating, just the human body and the structure and the organs and all of that. And after a while of clicking around on that website, he got up and started straightening out his room and doing some things. And I was looking at the website, and some of the things we had looked at, we went over quickly, and I wanted to look at them again. So I clicked the back button and until I found what I was looking for, kept clicking back, and then I clicked back one too many times, and I was suddenly in his MySpace account.
MySpace.
And what did you see
Oh,
there?
man.
Well, at first I was confused. I thought, I wonder why he didn't log out. So I didn't see anything in it immediately, but he was it was the inbox.
You can't handle the truth.
The temptation got the better of me, so I clicked on an email.
And was there a particular reason a certain email got your attention?
Yes.
Why?
In early December, one day I logged on to MySpace, and I don't know if you're familiar with MySpace, but the friends in your network, you could see when they're online, because there's a little icon that flashes online now, or online or something. I don't remember. But I saw Travis was online too, so I clicked on his page to wish him good morning or good afternoon or whatever time of the day it was. And I noticed there were a ton of new comments on his page. And they were all from two women, and they were like,
This was
I
like
don't know what the
right as MySpace
computer
was like
term
at
is,
the
but they were
height.
graphics.
And then the
It was like
next year,
graphic art, and it was
Facebook.
all very flirty, like lips and
Which is weird
sparkly
because
hearts
I
and
quite
all
remember
these
ending
kind of
MySpace
suggestive things.
in 05 or 06.
So I thought that was interesting because, you know, we hadn't had the discussion yet about moving on or dating other people. This was right before that. And right then I got a phone call from him, and he could see that I was online. And he began to tell me about this crazy experience he had, and it involved this.
See you later, Ricky.
Well, let me stop you here just for a second so we're clear. This wasn't after you became his
Yeah, you did.
girlfriend. This was a time that you had seen his page previous to that from contacting him, right?
Will you say that again? I'm sorry.
I asked you what drew your attention to the particular email that you opened up the day after you became his girlfriend.
Because I noticed that it was the same girl that, well, because he spun a story about it, and when you reply on an email, it says the RE with the colon, and then if you reply again, it has another RE with a colon rather than just one. It increases every time the thread gets longer. RE. So I could see this was a long thread, and it was that girl, and I was curious, so I clicked on it.
Okay. And you recognize that girl, and he had described, you said, a prior wild experience that he had with her, right?
Yes.
And that wild experience, was that sexual in nature?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. That's not what he described.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandra.
Would you term it sexual in nature?
That thing you just said.
I would term it more hostile.
Okay. So moving back then to February of 2007, you're reading this email from this female that was sent to Mr. Alexander. Was what you were reading sexual in nature?
Yada, yada, yada.
At first, yes.
Okay. So part of the content was sexual. That's my question.
It was kind of flirty, not very explicit, but there were innuendos.
Was there, in the context of this email, was there discussion about them meeting?
Yes,
And was there information related to when they were going to meet or where they were going to meet?
Hi, Queen
Yes,
Olive
on the New Year.
fan.
Okay. And as Travis's girlfriend, this didn't please you. Is that fair to say?
well, it didn't make me elated, but it didn't bother me too much.
Did you ask Mr. Alexander about this?
No, not right away.
Okay. And I want to clarify something earlier because you said, you were his girlfriend, you were happy for a day, and something made you unhappy. And now you're just telling us, well, this email, it didn't make me elated. Did something else make you unhappy, or was it just this email?
There was one other thing that really bothered me a lot more than that email. That email was months before we became official, so it was like, I was a little upset because it wasn't what he told me. So I was thinking, yeah, right. But there was another email that was more disturbing.
And why was that, without going into what it said, why was that disturbing?
It was much more sexual in nature, and it was with a married woman, an LDS married woman.
And you said it was sexual in nature. Did you get the sense that this woman and Mr. Alexander were engaged in some sort of affair?
I don't know. She lived in Southern California, but they were definitely making plans.
Did you speak with Mr. Alexander about this email?
Eventually I did, but I spoke to Sky about it first.
Okay.
Wasn't sure what to do.
All right. Why not, when you said you weren't sure what to do, why not just break up with him?
Well, part of
You've got mail.
my reasoning at the time was this was
Can't believe it
also
took me
something that
until now
took
to get that.
place a few months back. It was before Christmas. And I was a little disturbed by it made me question what his values were regarding marriage. But I liked him, so I wasn't going to break up with him.
You said you liked him. You were his girlfriend at this point in time. Were you in love with him in February 2007?
I might have been, but I don't recall being in love. I recall
It was just a like, not a
having
like.
feelings for him, but I don't know that I could
Very,
say in love yet.
Hey, Arnold. Logic.
After you left his home as his girlfriend, did you go back to Palm Desert?
Yes.
And at that point in time, well, describe the relationship. You're hundreds of miles away anyway. Are we back to the phone calls, that sort of thing?
Yes, he began to call me more often at that point,
Girls.
owing partially to everything that had happened between his friends and I and him. And so he was a lot better in how he was treating me. So things began to develop a little bit more rapidly.
You say develop a little more rapidly. You're already boyfriend and girlfriend. What is it developing into?
Well, there was a lot more talk about marriage. We were not engaged. That the subject of marriage was almost discussed from very early on, not necessarily him and I, but he would throw out hypotheticals if, and then so now it was more like when he was making plans, it was always we instead of me. So it seemed like I was included more as in his future and his in mine.
And based on what you told us earlier,
Twins,
it would seem that at this point in
twins.
time, being married and having a family was still one of your primary goals in life. Is that right?
Yes.
And in this time period of February 2007, are you still involved in prepaid legal?
Yes.
Actively, or you just have your membership purchase? How would you describe your?
I would describe it as I was very actively involved, but I was not making any money.
Okay.
I
So
was
after
bad
you
at what
leave
I
and you
did.
after you leave
That's
Mr.
what she
Alexander's
means.
home, you return to Palm Desert. The relationship was flourishing largely over the phone, right?
Yes.
When do you next see Mr. Alexander?
We began to see each other about once or twice a month. I'm trying to remember the exact time. I came out to his house again in March,
I stare at people at my cubicle too, but I just get reported
just
to
prior
HR.
to convention.
Kidding.
Well, you said you tried to see each other about every other week, right?
He would come out to California on average of once a month, and I started going to Arizona on average of once a month.
So he would either come out to your house in Palm Desert or you would go out to see him in Mesa.
Yes, until May he came to Palm Desert.
I'm sorry. what was
Until
that?
May he would come to Palm Desert.
Okay. And at this point in time, if I understand you correctly, February 2006, your boyfriend and girlfriend, but you have not had penile vaginal intercourse yet, is that right?
That's right.
When did you first have penile vaginal intercourse with Mr. Alexander?
It would have been April or May. I think May, pretty sure May, but it could have been April. It was in the spring.
Okay. Apart from these trips back and forth between your two homes and we heard a little earlier about travels. Had you traveled together yet? Just the two of you?
That month of March that I came out before convention was our first, was the first time we traveled together.
And where did you go?
He wanted to show me the places that were significant in Mormon church history. So we decided to go to
Ultimate
we flew
aphrodisiac
to
right
Kansas
there.
City, Missouri, to see places in Missouri, historical sites. And then we also drove to Nauvoo, Illinois.
What was that?
Nauvoo, Illinois.
And what, maybe for those of us who don't know, just to begin with, was there something of historical importance in Kansas City?
Not in Kansas City, but that was the nearest major airport.
Okay. To this Navajo, Illinois?
No, to the sites in Missouri.
Okay. So how long a trip is this to be?
I don't remember how many days, but we left a few days early to see those sites and then fly to or maybe drive to Oklahoma City, where our convention was in the spring.
And your boyfriend and girlfriend at this time as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. You go to Kansas City. Is there a difference in his behavior in terms of how publicly affectionate he is when you arrive in Kansas City as opposed to when you're back home in Arizona?
He's a little bit more distant. We hold hands sometimes, but not often. And that's about the extent. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes he wouldn't even hold my hand. It would just be like, he wouldn't introduce me to anybody.
What you need to do is you need to communicate.
Anything like that.
In Kansas City?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant at convention. I misunderstood.
No,
No, that's
not a convention in Kansas City. We talked about how he acted like just your friend unless it was in front of Dan or Desiree Freeman or Aaron Dewey. But he acted like your friend, or just a friend in public. My question was whether or not when you got to Kansas City and you were traveling together where people didn't know you, did that change?
Yes, he was more affectionate in those cities when we were out of town.
And this trip to these Mormon historical sites, before you drove to Oklahoma City, how long of a trip was that to be?
We hit multiple places in a day and then spent the entire day in Nauvoo. I want to say 2 or 3 days.
Okay. And during these trips to these religious landmarks, and from what you say, and I don't want to assume this, so from what you say, it sounds like there were several in the Missouri area.
Yes.
Okay. And as far as these, you must have spent a couple nights on the road as well, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And did you have separate hotel rooms or just one?
No, just one.
2 beds or just one?
Question.
One queen size bed.
Okay. Was there sexual behavior during this trip?
Yes.
Oral sex?
Spicy.
I don't remember the nature of it. I just remember it was not anything different than what we had been doing.
Okay. And was this something fairly consistent throughout the 2 or 3 days that you were on this trip?
I think it only occurred once and during that portion of the trip.
Okay. Now, you talk about going through Missouri, and was the next portion of the trip to fly to Oklahoma, or was there something before that?
No, we went to 3 or 4 different places in Missouri. Then we drove to Nauvoo, Illinois.
Okay. And then from Illinois, you went to Oklahoma City?
Yes, we stayed the night in Nauvoo, Illinois. And then we spent the whole day until it was dark again, and then drove most of the night, I think, to Oklahoma. I remember driving a long time after Nauvoo.
Okay. And you said to convention, that was a prepaid legal convention?
Yes.
And based on what we heard before, it sounds like that was one of the 2 big conventions of the year, right?
Yes, there were 2 conventions per year, and this one was in the spring.
Okay. And you mentioned, because I think we got a little bit of miscommunication earlier, you said he was acting like your boyfriend on these trips, but it sounded like when you got to Oklahoma City, things changed.
That's correct.
Okay. And describe for us again so we're clear, how did things change in terms of from a physical standpoint?
I just sort of became, it seemed like I was just another person there. Maybe on a friend acquaintance kind of level. I wasn't expecting, he had told me ahead of time that convention
He
is
was born in
crazy and all
Vermont.
that. But there were plenty of moments where we were all just hanging out. And
Then they moved to Western New York
he
State
wasn't incredibly affectionate.
near Palmyra.
But there was one time where we were up very late and we were in the hotel lobby, and I was really tired,
That too.
but I stayed to hang out with everyone, and he put a pillow on his lap and let me lay there. So that was really nice of him. But other than that, he was actually very flirtatious with another woman.
Okay. Without going into the details of that flirtation, you said he was flirtatious with another woman. Was that in front of you?
Yes.
That hurt your feelings?
Yes, it hurt my feelings.
You ever say anything to him about it?
Afterward, after the incident,
Tech difficulties. See, this is what happens. Hold on. One moment. Sorry, everybody. One second. Gonna go back a couple minutes. There we go. I had to stream. Tell me it's better.
How did that
Tell
sudden
me it's
change
better.
to being just going from girlfriend, someone he's intimate with at nights in the hotel room, to just being one of his buddies at the convention?
Okay.
did you say how did that?
Yeah, how did that make you feel?
Thanks, Dina Do.
I didn't actually overanalyze it because this was a business convention. Nevertheless, there were couples there that were friendly outside of the business sessions. There's a lot of personal time and hanging out and partying. So I saw other couples being affectionate. I don't mean making out, just sitting next to each other, holding hands. Travis and I didn't do that. So it hurt my feelings a little, but it was very mild in comparison to the way he was actually acting with another woman.
Okay.
Who cares?
So when how long was the convention? How long were you two just buds?
The convention lasts 2 days, and there was a breakout. I can't remember this time if the breakout came before or after convention.
Okay. Do you share a hotel room with Mr. Alexander?
Definitely not. We were in separate hotel rooms.
Definitely not.
You say definitely not. What do you mean by that?
Not.
Well, he explained to me that it wasn't looked upon very well to stay in the same hotel room. Plus, because we weren't married, we weren't going to get the same hotel room. He would stay in a room with a bunch of guys, and I would stay in a room with a bunch of girls, and we would all split the cost.
I'm a little confused then, because it seems like this man had concern about the appearances at the convention,
The whole point of this is to
but
show
didn't
that
have any concerns about sharing
had
a hotel room with you
duality
a night or
in
two
his life.
beforehand, right?
Yes.
That's what they're getting at here.
Did you ever question him about that disparity?
No, I knew that it was a church standard, and I knew that we were going against the church standard when no one else knew about it. But not that time. Eventually that came up between us, but at the convention I didn't.
Okay. Do you and Travis, how do you return back to, well, where do you go after the convention's over?
I believe we flew directly back from Oklahoma City to Phoenix.
You flew together?
Yes.
Just the two of you, or were there other, I mean, obviously it wasn't your own plane, but I mean, were there other associates or friends that were involved in this trip?
There might have been other friends on that flight because tons of people go, but not that I recall. We booked those
Can you
flights together and
imagine
it was
sitting
just
next
us.
to Jody on an airplane and not being able to go anywhere?
When you get back from Oklahoma City,
Yikes.
do you spend time with Travis, or do you immediately go back to Palm Desert?
Trying to remember. I believe that night we got back on a Sunday, and he used to go to dinner at his friend's house on Sundays, and that Sunday I went with him.
Okay. Did you spend more days with him?
I believe I stayed Sunday night and then left Monday.
That Sunday night before, well, let me ask you this. When you went to the home of his friends. Had you met these people before?
No,
Did he introduce you to them as his girlfriend?
no, I was kind of just a friend.
Did that hurt?
If it did, I was ignoring it. I can't recall thinking anything particular about it.
Okay. That evening, you go to this home and you're introduced as his buddy again. When you go back to the home, is there more sexual activity?
The night before I left, I really don't recall on that night.
Okay. Ms. Arias, before we move completely past
No,
the convention at
Just need to move
Oklahoma
on.
City,
I know he wants to.
you had mentioned some incident that had made you upset during this convention.
Yes,
That made you more upset than being treated as his buddy during this convention, right?
yes, I can't say that being treated as buddy made me really upset, just kind of bothered me.
Okay. What was this incident that you're talking about that hurt your feelings so significantly?
Well, this was the night of the executive director banquet, and I went again with Travis that night. After that banquet, most people like to change out of their tuxedos and gowns or whatever fancy dresses that they're wearing into clothing that's more comfortable. So Travis and I did that. I was in jeans or whatever, and he changed out to the same. And some people will stay in their dresses. There was one woman that came down the stairs from another level of the lobby, I guess. We were in the lobby area of the Sheraton Hotel. And she was very, very drunk, and she almost couldn't stand up. And so she began to hang all over various men, slurring things, making jokes that nobody really understood. Everyone was laughing at her, though. It was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of funny at the time, too, so I flipped open my phone and started video recording her, just so I could show her the next day.
Rude.
So everything was kind of, we were just laughing, and then am I allowed to say what she said?
Well,
No, you're not.
Let me get
can't.
specifically
Hearsay.
to
It's hearsay.
what was it about this drunk woman, as you describe her? Did she have an interaction with Travis or something that made you upset?
Yes, she was hanging all over two guys, and then after that, she kind of lurched over to Travis and fell on him a little. And he held her up, and they were facing each other very close, and he was holding her around the waist, and she had her arms around his shoulders, and she had this very sexy black gown on, very generous cleavage, kind of pressed up against his chest, and he looked like he was loving every minute of it. And I was sitting down on a couch nearby. He was probably about 5 feet in that direction.
Hey,
And,
jealousy.
I had already shut my phone at this point because the video didn't last that long. I just got this feeling inside, like my stomach flip-flopped. Like I couldn't believe he was doing that.
Funny.
Not just doing it, but doing it right in front of me and in front of all our friends. I was under the impression that most of our friends, Dan was there, Aaron Dewey was there, that other people understood we were together, and I didn't feel like that behavior was appropriate. But I didn't want to make a scene, so I stood up, and I was hurt. I felt like I wanted to cry, but I didn't really want anyone to see that. So I decided I was going to go to the bathroom. But in order to get to the bathroom, I had to walk right past them. So I passed them, and they stopped me briefly, and I don't remember what she was slurring, but he was just kind of laughing, and they were swaying and just going like that. And I just smiled and said, I don't know if I said much. I just kept walking after that. And I went into the bathroom and into a stall and sat down on one of the toilets and just started crying.
Okay. Now, did you express, this sounds like it was pretty upsetting to you.
Yeah, it hurt my feelings.
Did you express that to Travis?
Eventually. I was more appalled with the fact that he was doing it right in front of me.
What's up,
and
big
that he was
daddy?
doing it at all. But it definitely hurt my feelings, and I stayed in the bathroom for quite some time.
Hello, mollycoddle.
Leslie Udy came in. I believe it was her. It sounded like her voice. A few times calling my name. I think she knew I was in there. But every time I heard the door open, I put my feet up so that no one could see me in the stall, because I didn't want anyone to understand or to know that I was upset. So she left, and after the second time she came in and then left, I finally exited the stall.
Why, let me stop you for a minute. Why would you not want people to know that you were upset?
I guess I felt ashamed for some reason that he was acting that way. I felt ashamed. I can't really explain why. I guess I just felt like maybe I would be perceived as someone who didn't deserve anything better, or someone who was maybe overly dramatic or overreacting or too emotional. I wanted to be perceived more as just cool and calm and like shrug it off, like, whatever, because maybe there wasn't any meaning behind it. But even though they were very physically suggestive, or at least close and pressing their bodies up against each other, and it lasted quite some time, I just still was thinking, well, maybe there wasn't anything to that. Maybe it didn't mean anything. So I didn't want others to think that I was overreacting.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you brought this up with Travis. Did you do that before you left Oklahoma City, or was that after you got home?
It was shortly after I left the stall. I checked my makeup because I had cried it all off and my eyes were really puffy and red. So I didn't want to give myself away. So I tried to make myself appear like I wasn't crying. And then at that point, I think a half hour had passed. So I left the bathroom and I had to walk past the same area again. Most of that group had dispersed. So I decided to walk really fast toward the elevators and hopefully no one would notice me, but somebody did and called my name, and out of, just to be polite, I stopped and said hi and then continued on to the elevators. And then as I was getting near the elevator, Travis texted me and asked me where I was.
So after he texted you, did you get together and talk about it then?
Yes, I forgot actually one thing I did before you texted me.
Well, let's just focus on the conversation you had with Mr. Alexander.
Okay.
That happened that night in Oklahoma City?
Yes, it did.
And where did that conversation take place?
It actually took place, he was trying to get on the same elevator I was, but from his floor. So we figured that out and I rode the elevator up and he met me at the elevator.
He met you on the elevator?
As I came off the elevator.
Okay. So where are you when you talk about this?
We are outside the elevator. There's a long hallway, but then right before the hallway, there is a small table and a chair, maybe two chairs. We were there.
Okay, so you sit down and you talk about this event. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And are you yelling at him? Are you crying? What is your emotion when you're expressing how upset you are with him?
I had calmed down a lot. I didn't want to leave the bathroom until I was cool and collected. So I calmed down a lot, but as he got me to talk about it, it got me upset again. So I started crying some, and he reassured me and just said some nice things.
50 Shades of.
And that kind of ended the discussion about it there, at least in Oklahoma City?
That didn't really end the discussion. As I was going to sleep that night, he sent me a very nice text message, very apologetic, saying that he wanted to be better.
Objection, hearsay.
Sorry.
Objection,
In terms
hearsay.
of the conversation, the verbal conversation, that ended at the table in the hallway, right?
Got it.
Yes, when we were present with each other.
So you leave Oklahoma City, you've had a conversation about this incident. You were telling us earlier how you had spent some time at a friend of Travis's house, had dinner there. And I think we're at a point in time where you were about ready to return to Palm Desert, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how far of a drive is Palm Desert from Mesa?
I remember it being approximately 5.5 hours, depending on how fast you drive.
Now, did you have a job back in Palm Desert at that time?
Yes.
And where were you working?
I was working
At the Sizzler.
at Quisto and trying to remember. I think it was California Pizza Kitchen.
Objection, hearsay.
Now, at this point in time, though, you were also telling us that you were seeing Travis every week, maybe every other week. So after you returned from convention, when was the next time that you saw him?
I saw him again the following
She
weekend.
was
There was
not. In fact,
a recap. They usually have some kind of recap event the week following convention. I guess in various regions, and Travis came to Southern California to the one that I would go to.
Okay. And you said Southern California. Where was this follow-up or?
I believe it was either in Anaheim or a city near that.
Okay. Did you share a hotel room together?
No, he stayed with friends and family, I think.
Okay. And did you have a hotel room?
I stayed, oh yeah, we were all staying at the same house, friends.
Okay. Any sexual activity at that point in time?
That night,
I'm gonna bite my pillow. It's what I'm gonna do.
I think we did in that house during those times, but I don't recall that specific night.
Okay. Do you recall whose home it was?
Yes,
Who?
it was Chris and Sky Hughes' parents' home.
Okay.
Crazy, crazy for you.
When you were at this event, forgive me, I forget what you referred to it as, a post.
Recap.
Recap, okay.
Oh, please.
This
Yes, correct him.
post-convention
Correct the
recap.
lawyer.
Was his behavior the same it was in Oklahoma City in terms of how he treated you as a buddy or a colleague, as opposed to his girlfriend?
Yes, it was friendly, but not anything more than that.
And was he flirtatious with other women in front of you during this recap?
I don't recall. He's always very friendly with women, but I don't recall anything that sticks out.
Okay. So after this recap is over, do you both return to your respective homes?
No, the recap was one day on Saturday, and we stayed the night at the Hughes' parents' home. So it was a ranch, and we were out there, and there was a party. So a lot of people came over. It was a social event, and after the party dispersed, we hung out and went to sleep.
In the same bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. When you were at this ranch, as you described it, meeting a bunch of people, did he introduce you as his girlfriend?
No.
Was it just, this is my friend Jody?
He didn't
Something to
introduce
that
me at
effect?
all.
What's that?
He didn't introduce me at all.
I mean, sometimes I forget to introduce people.
So after this party at the ranch, what happens next? I mean, do you stay at the ranch a few more days, or is this the last day you're on the ranch?
A few more days.
Imagine
I
standing
think
through
I
18
left
days.
Monday evening.
Asking her questions as her defense attorney and
And
still not
left, you
believing a
mean,
word she said.
to go back to Palm Desert?
Travis wanted to meet up with me in Riverside that night, so he told me to go to, I don't remember what it's called, but I think it's called the Mission or something. It's kind of a tourist destination in Riverside. He said it's a beautiful place for photographs and that I could get some nice pictures while he finishes up whatever he was doing at their house. So I had to I had to go to Verizon, and then I went there and took some pictures.
Okay. And did Mr. Alexander then meet you at this Mission Inn?
No, when he arrived in Riverside, he gave me directions to his grandmother's house.
Okay.
Hello.
And this house, was this also located in Riverside?
Yes,
Okay.
to my understanding.
Okay. And was this, by the time he had contacted you and given directions to his grandmother's house, was this, what time of day was this, if you can recall?
It was the evening, it was dark, but it wasn't very late.
So did he then,
I bet you Kirk just let it happen.
did
Like
you
you just let
go
him
to his
through.
grandma's house?
Yes,
Okay. Did he introduce you to his grandmother?
Yes.
Okay. As his girlfriend?
No.
What did the three of you do while you were at his grandmother's house?
We just stayed. Trying to remember. I think I met her 3 times, and I don't want to get those things out of order. But the time that I left Temecula, which was where the ranch was, I believe, and then I went over to meet her, we only stayed for a few minutes, and it was a little awkward. I mean, I think I might have been meeting her for the first time, and Travis was kind of just standing there, and then he and I left to go to Barnes & Noble.
Okay. Where did you wind up spending the night that evening?
That evening, I think I drove home.
After you got back to Palm Desert, what we're talking about January of 2007 still, is that accurate?
No, convention was late March. The recap was a week later. I think the party was on March 31st. I guess it was last day of the month.
Okay. Let me back up then. And was he at this convention and this recap? You were, at least to the both of yours, at least the way you two looked at it anyway, you were boyfriend and girlfriend. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. In between January and March, there's Valentine's Day, right?
Yes.
Did you spend Valentine's Day with Mr. Alexander?
No.
Did he provide you with any Valentine's gifts?
Yes.
How did those, did he deliver them himself or were they shipped to you?
They were shipped to me. We weren't together on Valentine's Day because I worked. And also the relationship was still kind of new, like 12 days prior. We barely made it official. So I didn't have any big expectations for Valentine's Day. But I came home between jobs in the afternoon and there was a package on my doorstep.
And did you open the package right away? Was it, well, let me ask you this. Was it easily identifiable to you who the package was from?
Yes, his return address was on it.
Shut up, shut up, shut up,
Did you
shut up,
call
shut
him
up.
before you opened it or did you open it?
I opened it before calling him.
What was in this package?
There were a variety of things. When I opened it, on top were some chocolates, Reese's peanut butter cups, and I think the little Halloween size, fun size Hershey bars.
The court reporter is like, am I
They were
really
all
typing
melted
this?
completely. I guess they'd melted being outside.
Oh no.
So I put them in the refrigerator. And then beneath that was
Diane,
a
I feel like
shirt
that needs to be celebrated.
that he had been joking about getting me for some months or weeks, maybe. It was over a month. And it's,
Could you describe the shirt for us?
yes, it's the one that was in the picture. It said Travis Alexander's.
What else?
I laughed because it was an inside joke that he had been making for a while. I didn't think he would actually get me a shirt like that, but he would joke about doing that. And so took it out of the package and lifted it up, and there were also other items underneath it.
I'm sorry, you say that again?
There were other items underneath it.
And what other items were there?
The pink shorts.
Y'all pay the
which I
fool.
didn't see his name on the back at first. I just picked him up, and I thought they were cute.
Let me show you what's been marked as exhibit number 417. Is that the shirt and shorts you're talking about receiving from Mr. Alexander on Valentine's Day?
Ones that
Yes.
she actually made herself,
Valentine's Day 2007?
Yes.
that they're passing off as something that Travis did.
Yeah, you mentioned some melted chocolates, t-shirt, shorts. Was there anything else in this package?
Yes, there was one other thing beneath the shorts.
What was that?
They were boys' underwear. They were Spider-Man underwear.
A 1, a 2, a 3,
And
a 3.
did it seem strange to you that you were receiving those?
I was confused
So much.
at first. They were still in the package. I don't remember the size, but they were like packaged like in a vacuum sealed package with the cardboard, so you could see the different styles of Spider-Man that were in that package. And I thought at the time,
Well, let me ask you this. Was there anything else in that package? Was this?
there was a nice letter also.
Judge, may we approach?
Yes.
No, absolutely not. Oh, moving on. This looks like day
When
15.
we ended, we were speaking about the
Look at that tie.
gift you received for Valentine's
That
Day
tie.
from Mr. Alexander in 2007. And one of the things we talked about you receiving, we talked about you receiving a few things, but
What kills
showing
me
you
is this
exhibit
little
number
embellishment right here,
417,
the little bow.
the package you received contained this t-shirt and this pair of shorts or underwear, right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm glad you like it.
Would you be, is there a story behind this? Or why you received these particular items?
There's a story behind the t-shirt. The shorts were unexpected.
Okay, well, tell us what's the story behind the t-shirt?
Well, sometimes Travis would come out to California and we would go to Super Saturdays in Anaheim together. And I was new, so there were people that would introduce me to other people in the company.
Nice pull.
And if it was a man, he always wanted to know what we were talking about. He would be very inquisitive, and he started making this joke that said, "I'm going to get you a t-shirt that says Travis Alexander so you can wear it to all the prepaid legal events."
And this was the shirt that he had, as you say, joked about, right?
Yeah, we just joked about it. He joked about it occasionally. He would bring it up. He didn't attend all of the Super Saturdays in California, so sometimes I would go and he would inquire what happened, who I met, that kind of thing. And so it was a joke that came up occasionally from December through January.
Okay. Now, you were telling us last week that the other item you received from Mr. Alexander was some Spider-Man underwear. To be clear, could you describe it for us? Was this one pair? Was this several pairs?
It was a package. I don't remember how many were in the package, but there were 3 designs, like 3 styles. I mean, they were all the same cut, but they had 3 different patterns. They were all Spider-Man.
And
They're
to your
always on my bingo
recollection,
card.
this package of underwear that
Who
we're
is that?
talking about, was
that
this, did
gentleman?
this say
Is that her
because
dad?
women's or girls or boys, what
Hold on.
did it say on it?
I don't remember the size, but they were definitely for little boys. I thought maybe he was,
That's her dad.
Objection, speculation.
Okay. When you saw this package of underwear, were you surprised?
I was a little confused.
Okay. And did you talk to Mr. Alexander on what day did you receive this package? Do you recall?
I think it was on Valentine's Day, or maybe a day or 2 before or after. It was right on the holiday or right near it.
Okay. And did you speak with Mr. Alexander the day that you received this gift?
Yes.
Apart from being confused, did you feel anything else other than confusion when you received this boy's underwear?
No, at the time, I received Victoria's Secret catalogs at my house, and there was this trend in women's lingerie at the time that kind of had boys' briefs, boy-style briefs or men's-style briefs, but they were designed for women's bodies. So I figured, and he also received Victoria's Secret catalogs, so I figured maybe it was something to that effect, and he didn't understand the difference in body shapes, and I thought that he was kind of going with that trend. That was my thought, was
Okay.
giving him the benefit of the doubt.
When you talked to him that day, did he explain to you?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, first of all, after speaking with him, was there any doubt that he sent those to you intentionally?
After speaking to him, no, there was no doubt.
And why do you say that?
Well, I called him and we discussed what I received and kind of laughed about it. And then I said, what's with the Spideys? I called them Spideys. And
Objection, hearsay, she's going to tell us what he said.
She certainly hasn't.
Objection!
done that.
Hearsay!
All right. Ask another question.
Did he wish you to wear this underwear?
yes,
Is this something that fit on your body?
he asked me to try them on
This is
while
the
he was
whole
on the phone.
pedophile
Objection, not
thing.
responsive.
That's where they're going.
It's not his objection, Your Honor. It's improper.
Overruled. Ask another question.
He wanted you to try on these boys' underwear.
Yes,
And did they fit?
the seat of the underwear fit, but the leg holes, the openings were too small. They were really tight.
Okay. Was he pretty, did you advise him that they didn't fit?
You can't
I
handle
just told him
the
the leg
truth!
openings were very tight.
Objection, not responsive, hearsay.
It's exactly responsive and
it's not
hearsay.
All right, overruled. The answer will stand.
You can tell that Juan's trying to stop this, stop the flow.
Even though that they did not fit, was there a continued insistence on Mr. Alexander's part that you try on or that you make accommodations with that underwear so you could wear them?
Yes, he suggested a few ideas.
Objection, hearsay.
Ask another question.
It's not being offered for the truth of the matter, Circuit Judge.
I understand. Ask another question.
I'm gonna bite my pillow. It's what I'm
Did you
gonna
have
do.
to make alterations to the underwear in order to get them to fit?
Yes,
Did Travis encourage you to make these alterations?
yes,
Did he, as you could tell, express gratification when you had that pair of underwear on?
yes.
How so?
Objection, lack of foundation, when?
Sustained.
When you were talking on the phone with him, and he insisted that you tried on these boys' underwear that didn't fit you because you're not a little boy, did he express gratification when you had them on your body?
Yes.
How so?
He said that's hot.
Objection, hearsay.
Not being offered for the truth of the matter, sir.
Overruled. The answer will stand.
He said that's hot.
Yes,
That's okay.
Did he explain why that was hot?
I love this guy because he makes literally no facial, like just his. Hold on. Let's try this again. Watch Mr. Court
The
Reporter.
answer will stand.
He said that's hot.
yes,
Come
Did he
on,
explain
dude.
why that was hot?
No, I didn't ask him.
Okay. How did you feel wearing these boys' underwear?
Well, not hot. I felt kind of silly.
Okay. Did the conversation continue at that point in time?
Yeah, for a little bit it did.
Was it sexual in nature?
Yes, somewhat.
Did he express an intention to use these underwear, or have you wear these underwear during a future sexual interaction?
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
I was a little confused, but I was trying to be open-minded.
Trying to what?
Be open-minded.
This sexual interaction that was discussed on the phone regarding you wearing the boys' underwear, did that interaction ever take place?
Yes.
And when did that take place, as best you can recall?
Throughout our relationship, mostly after we broke up.
Check,
Do you
please.
remember the first time that this took place? How much later was it from Valentine's Day that these underwear were used in your sexual encounters with him?
It was several months. Sometime I kept conveniently forgetting to bring them when I went to his house. It was after I moved to Mesa.
Okay. And before we get to the time period we moved to Mesa, I want to focus on this time period. At this time period, in February 2007, you have not had penile vaginal intercourse with Mr. Alexander, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. As it relates to Mr. Alexander's temper, had he been violent with you before February of 2007?
No.
Had you seen instances of his temper prior to February 2007?
Yes.
Describe for us, if you could, one of those instances that was powerful to you.
Well, it was over the phone. I guess I heard it rather than saw it, but he was,
Ask for a foundation.
Sustained.
Over the phone, do you remember when this conversation was, other than prior to February of 2007?
it would have been around the same time, just before Valentine's Day.
Okay. So you're speaking with Mr. Alexander just before Valentine's Day 2007, and since you're on the phone, you're hearing examples of temper, not seeing them, right?
Yes.
Is he yelling at you?
He's yelling on the phone, but not angry at me.
Okay. Why was that impactful on you?
Well, he was very apologetic about it afterward. He seemed a little ashamed.
Judge, she was asked why it affected her, not what he did afterwards.
How did it affect you, Jody?
It just made me realize that he still had a temper. It was something he had discussed in the past that he used to have more in his teens, and that he had mastered it and had control over it, so.
In addition to this conversation where you heard instances of his temper, prior to February 2007. Did you physically see an instances of his temper prior to February 2007?
No.
We just talked about how in February 2007, you had not had sexual intercourse with Mr. Alexander, penile vaginal intercourse. But you did eventually, right?
Yes.
Do you remember what point in
I think we
time
covered
that
this, right?
first encounter happened?
It was in the spring 2007. I think it was in May.
Where were you when this first happened?
I was in his bed.
Check, please.
In his bed where?
In his bedroom in his house in Mesa.
Okay. Tell us what happened.
We fell asleep. And I woke up and he was on top of me. And he had already penetrated and started having sex with me.
Okay. Let's back up a step. That night,
know what you're
you
talking
said you
about.
were asleep. That night before you fell asleep, did you engage in sexual activity with Mr. Alexander?
No,
Nope.
Was he seeking sexual activity that night before you fell asleep?
no, we had prayed about our actions and tried to be more, and try to be more like in line with the law of chastity, just be less physical.
So that night, you and Travis pray. Was there any particular about not violating the law of chastity, right?
Yes, but we didn't pray that night. We prayed prior to that night, recently.
Okay. What motivated that prayer that preceded this sexual intercourse? Was there one particular instance that motivated such a prayer?
I would hear things occasionally in church that didn't sound like they were in line with how Travis explained it to me. So I asked him one time.
Now he's a bad Mormon.
And as I understood it after we
Maybe,
talked, that those standards are in place to prevent people from going all the way. So as long as we're not going all the way, it's okay if we sort of tread in the gray area, as long as we don't go all the way.
Okay. And when you say all the way, that means
Take
penile
me
vaginal
all the
intercourse?
way.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to make sure we're clear here because I got a little confusing. That night before you fell asleep and woke up with him inside you, no sexual activity took place?
Not prior to that.
Oh, righty then.
And were you clothed when you went to sleep?
Yes, I was in pajamas.
Okay. And what you told us was you woke up with him inside you.
Yes.
Okay. Had he talked about having penile vaginal intercourse with you before this event?
No.
Is it something that you desired?
Maybe not on a conscious level. It wasn't anything I was actively seeking. We were trying to abstain from it.
Okay. Because at this point in time, your mindset was that you both wanted to comport with the vow of chastity, at least as to what your understanding of it was. Is that right?
Somewhat, yes. I wanted to comport with the law of chastity because I believed that our relationship would be blessed if we did that.
When you say you woke up with him inside you. Do you recall, were you dressed?
I wore cotton shorts to sleep and they were gone, and my shirt was pulled up pretty high.
Okay. When you came to, what was happening? When you woke up, what was happening?
He was in the act
In the act of what?
of vaginal sex.
When you woke up, how did you react?
Well, it took me a second to orient myself, and I realized it was Travis, so I didn't feel unsafe or anything. My first thought was, uh-oh, because it wasn't the act itself that I was worried about, but how it would affect our relationship or the spiritual consequences of it.
Look.
Did you give consideration to the fact that he was having sex with you when you didn't want him to?
Objection, that's no evidence.
She just said she wasn't seeking it.
Rephrase the question.
Did you want him to penetrate your vagina with his penis while you were
Even
sleeping?
before you start. That was a
It's nothing I had
preemptive.
thought about.
Okay. So when you woke up and you found him penetrating your vagina with his penis, your concern was primarily about chastity, right, or the law of chastity,
Disgust and
excuse me,
just
The
disbelief.
consequences.
the consequences. Did you give thought to the idea that this man was having sex with you while you were not conscious?
No, I didn't give thought to that idea. I felt kind of
Objection.
responsible. Sorry.
How did you feel?
I felt like I was partially responsible because I went to sleep next to him. I was wearing cute shorts, a little t-shirt, so.
Hello,
I
hello.
mean, we might have fallen asleep cuddling, I don't remember. But I just felt like being in his bed, you know, sleeping there, that it wasn't entirely his fault, like maybe it was invited.
Okay. Invited just by you being there, right?
Yes.
Okay. When you woke up, did you tell him to stop?
I don't think I said stop.
What do you recall happening after you woke up?
I said his name, and I remember he was on top of me and behind me. I was on my stomach, and he was kind of heavy, so I started to squirm a little bit to get out from underneath him, and I think, well, he began to quicken his pace, and finally I don't know if he pushed him off of him or I scooted out from under him, and he rolled over and pulled me on top of him and then started pushing my head and my shoulders under the covers.
He was pushing your head and shoulders under the covers for what purpose?
Well, I presumed oral sex.
Did he ask for oral sex? Did he verbally say anything to that effect?
No words were spoken.
Did you perform oral sex upon him afterwards?
Yes.
Why?
We had already been intimate before, so it wasn't anything new on that level, at least. And, well, you know, he's turned on and
La
just
Arias
wanted
and
to,
La
I guess, to finish it.
What was that?
I guess I just wanted to follow through with, you know,
Follow through with what he started when you were asleep?
yes, what his aim was, I guess.
What's that?
I just wanted to let him finish.
Why was that important to you?
He had complained in the past about,
Objection! Hearsay!
he complained about blue balls and how painful it was if he has a sustained erection and doesn't ejaculate. That's my
I'm gonna bite
understanding.
my
of it.
pillow. It's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. But I have to ask, Jody, this man has had sex with you while you were asleep, or you certainly weren't in a position to say yes or no. Why would you care about his physical condition?
At that point, I knew that I loved him and I cared about him, so it felt kind of natural, even if it was frustrating.
Just so you all know, I can't make an emoji.
After
of that.
this
So
sexual intercourse and this activity took place, did you ever confront him about what he had done?
No, we actually never talked about it.
Why not?
Well, he never brought it up, and I guess I just didn't have like the moral courage to bring it up and say, hey, what happened, kind of thing.
Look.
Let me tell you a little story about a man named Shh.
Why not simply pack your bags, hop in your car, and drive back to Palm Desert?
Because I enjoyed spending time with him, I wouldn't have done that.
Because that would have meant the end of the relationship?
perfect.
Not necessarily, maybe not the end of the
share.
relationship, but I just stayed the rest of the weekend that was planned for me to be there.
And you said at this point in time, April 2007, you were in love with him. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, that incident occurred in May, I think, and April was when I knew that I was in love with him.
Prior to this incident, had you told Travis that you loved him?
No,
You said after this incident, you spent the rest of the weekend with him. Is that accurate?
yes,
And was this at his home in Mesa?
yes,
And you would have been boyfriend and girlfriend at this time as well, right?
yes.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What did you do the rest of the weekend? You stay home, you go out?
I don't recall the specifics of that weekend, but we would have gone to church. I believe that was the first time I went over to his friend's house. He went to his friend's house every Sunday for dinner, so I went with him that time. Just general things, hanging out.
Okay. And when you went to this friend's house, was this the incident we discussed last week where he didn't introduce you as his girlfriend, that sort of thing? Is that right?
Yes, at his friend's house, he didn't. He introduced me. I was in their home, but not as his girlfriend.
Okay. When you went out in public, in the Mesa area or around his home, when you were out in public, were you guys holding hands? Were you kissing? You have your arm around each other? Was any of that physical affection apparent?
No, not in Mesa.
Okay. And I don't just mean Mesa specifically, the whole valley, just so we're clear, the whole valley, anything else, anything you did while you were in public, was there physical displays of affection that might lead someone to believe you're boyfriend and girlfriend?
There were when we were in other geographic locations.
What do you mean, away from Mesa?
Yeah, like Disneyland or,
Okay. You went to Disneyland that weekend?
I don't think we were in Arizona when all this occurred, so.
No, I just want to talk about this weekend,
Oh, okay.
okay? So when you're in the Mesa area over the weekend, just to clarify, there's no physical displays of affection in public, right?
No,
Does Travis have roommates at this point in time, in April or May of '07?
yes,
Okay. And are you spending the night in his room or are you sleeping elsewhere?
I'm staying in his room.
Okay. Now, we talked about the lack of physical affection displayed in public. We already heard about one incident. Were there physical displays of affection once Travis locked his bedroom door?
Yes,
What happened the rest of the weekend? Was there more penile vaginal intercourse?
no, that was the only time. at that point.
What other actions took place over that weekend?
I don't recall specifically that weekend. I just remember it from that incident. That was one that I won't forget.
Well, let me ask you this about all the other sexual interactions that took place over the weekend. Were you awake?
Yes,
Were you, on those occasions, a willing participant in the sexual activity?
yes.
Now, from what you told us earlier, around May of 2007 is about the time that you moved out of your home in Palm Desert. Is that right? April or May?
Yeah, I think it would have been sometime mid-May.
Okay. And where do you move after you move out of your home in Palm Desert?
I moved to Big Sur, back to Big Sur, California.
And what was in Big Sur, California?
I had a job back at Ventana again. The position was open for me, and staff housing, so the rent was free. And it was just a way for me to get back on my feet.
Go
Back
fly
on your
kite.
feet financially?
Yes,
Now, from what we heard earlier, Ventana is the place where you met Mr. Brewer. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. Was Mr. Brewer working there that summer?
No, he was on the peninsula, Monterey Peninsula.
You also told us about last time that you worked there, you were dating Matt McCartney, or you were friends, excuse me, you were sharing a tent, right?
Yes, we were freshly broken up.
Was Mr. McCartney, was he working at Ventana this summer of 07 with you again?
Yes, he was working there.
Okay.
We're from Liverpool.
Did you share housing again?
Paul McCartney.
Yes, we did.
And was that this tent again, or did you actually get other accommodations?
No, we had better accommodations. We were in the Red House, which is right on Highway 1. It's a historic house that they let employees stay there. We were in that house
there you
with
go.
other roommates.
And if we understood you correctly, this would have been about a year after you broke up with Matt, right?
No, Matt and I broke up in 2001.
Okay, 2001, I'm sorry.
You think-
Several years since you broke up with Matt then.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, several.
And you said you lived together. Were you roommates? Were you romantically involved?
No, we were more like brother and sister by this point.
Okay. So you were still close friends several years later, right?
Yes,
Okay. And not in any kind of sexual relationship?
no, none.
Okay. Did Travis know that you were roommates with Matt?
Yes,
To your understanding, was he jealous or upset about that situation?
surprisingly, no, he didn't mind that one.
You say that one. Were there other instances of jealousy around this time period?
Yes, there were.
Describe those for us.
From her?
There was one incident where I was going to drive to Southern California and meet Travis. I think we were going to meet at the airport or for Disneyland. I don't remember which trip this was, but it was while I lived in Big Sur. And all the water on the property at Ventana had been shut off, and I wanted to take a shower before I hit the road. So I called a friend who lived nearby, and I used a shower. He said he was in Monterey, but his house is open, and he gave me directions and the gate code so I could drive up through the mountains to go to his house, shower, and then hit the road. And when I told Travis, he flipped out on me for that.
Well, you say flipped out. Was he yelling at you?
Yes.
And you say jealousy. Was he, to your understanding, angry because you thought that this was something sexual in nature?
He was worried that it would lead to something sexual or that I could be at risk because I'd gone to someone's house to shower.
At risk of what?
He didn't believe that the guy was in Monterey. He thought he could drive back, something could happen. He kind of made me feel vain for wanting to shower before I got on the road, that I could have showered later.
Okay. Now, this jealousy you're talking about, was this expressed when you arrived? You were supposed to meet Mr. Alexander in Southern California, right?
Yes,
Was this something that was displayed before you got there or when you arrived, or perhaps both?
over the phone on the way there.
And do you recall, I know you said that you don't know which trip it was. Do you recall how long it took you to get to the place where you were going to meet Mr. Alexander?
I left in the late morning and arrived shortly before sunset. I don't remember, maybe 6, 7 hours.
Okay. So several hours later, when you get there, is this jealousy about the showers that's still an issue?
No, not at this point. He was with Josh Ward, so he wasn't really displaying that.
Was it brought up at any point in time later during this trip?
It's something he didn't really let me live down for a while, but it didn't lead to any major fights.
Now, this trip to Southern California, you say you don't recall where it was. Is that accurate, where you went?
Good
I think we were
night.
flying to New York at that point.
Don't go.
And for 4th of July,
Boom.
And this is summer of 2007, right?
Yes,
Had you expressed, I know you told us you hadn't in May, had you expressed to Mr. Alexander that you loved him?
no,
Had he expressed to you that he loved you?
no. Well, we did way back before our relationship, but while we were dating, it wasn't I love you too kind of thing.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you were flying to New York. Why were the two of you flying to New York?
Well, there was more church history, places that were significant to the history of the church there. And I had won a trip to Huntington Beach for some of my production in the company Prepaid Legal. So I put him on my ticket as the extra person, and we decided to use one of the flights to fly from Rochester to LAX instead of just driving there, so that we could actually get out to New York for half the price and then have Prepaid Legal pay for our flight back.
Okay. Just so we're clear as well then, on this trip, you said you flew into Rochester, New York. Is that right?
Yes, we
Okay.
did. Wait, we flew into Cleveland on the way there, flew back from Rochester to LAX.
Okay.
Gesundheit.
Let me just ask you this for clarification then. Was it just you and Travis on this trip to New York?
Yes,
And you said this was to be another church history trip, right?
well, church history, and there were other travel goals that we had also at that time.
What do you mean by travel goals?
In that same spring, Travis had discovered a book called 1,000 Places to See Before You Die, and he thought it would be a cool goal to have, maybe a lifetime goal to try to check off as many places as he could. And I began to join him in that pursuit. And so Niagara Falls is on the list. So while we were out east, we saw Niagara Falls and the Finger Lakes in upstate New York.
Check, please.
And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio.
And you said these, 1,000 places to see before you die. And this trip was, and also included church history, so it had a dual purpose, I guess is what.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, approach a minute.
Yes.
Ms. Arias, I'd like to show you what's been marked as exhibit 435 and 432. I'd like you to begin without telling me about them, and just let us know if you recognize either of those photographs.
Yes.
I'm going to move to admit exhibits 432 and 435.
May I have order the witness, please?
You may.
Ma'am, with regard to these photographs,
Ooh.
exhibit number 435, was Mr. Alexander the person that took this photograph?
I believe he took both of those.
So exhibit 432, he also took those. Exhibit 435, is this the one from Niagara Falls?
If it's got the water in the background, that's the
Right.
one.
And exhibit number 432, it's got some trees in the back. Where was that?
The Sacred Grove in Palmyra, New York.
I don't have any objection.
432 and 435 are admitted.
This trip, I've been showing you what's been marked exhibit 435. Get that in there. Is that coming in clear on your screen, Ms. Arias?
Yes.
This was taken at, based on what you said moments ago, this was taken at Niagara Falls, right?
Yes.
And this was part of the trip we were talking about, church history and 1,000 places to see before you die, right?
Yes.
In this photograph, it appears that you and Mr. Alexander were physically affectionate, acting like a couple, for lack of a better way of putting it. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Was that the way it was throughout this entire trip?
That trip, we acted that way, but it was a pretense.
What do you mean a pretense?
I found out by that point that he was cheating on me, and I just didn't want to bring all the drama because our tickets were bought and paid for, and we couldn't refund him. I couldn't change his name on the ticket. I didn't want him to be totally miserable, even though I was miserable.
Okay. So this trip, before you went on this trip to Cleveland and Niagara Falls and various other places, you had discovered that Mr. Alexander cheated on you.
Yes.
How did you discover that?
We were in, I think, Sandy, Utah at his friend Dave's house. We had just returned from Daniel Summit, which is a place up in the mountains near Park City. And I had been getting my suspicions about things. He was treating me a little differently, a little more distant, a lot more flirty with other women, and it just made me uncomfortable. When I tried to talk to him about it, he blew up and got very defensive, even though I didn't accuse him of anything. So it was kind of a red flag. He assured me he was only dating me. I left it at that. We went on our trip. There were a couple of things that stuck out on the trip too, at Daniel Summit, but I ignored it. And then we got back to Dave's house, and he was taking a nap one day, and he left his phone wedged between two cushions in the couch in the living room. And he was in another bedroom sleeping, and I figured, I didn't know if he was being honest with me. I had a feeling he wasn't, and I wanted to know if I should continue in this relationship or if I should give him benefit of the doubt. I've been cheated on before, so I thought maybe it's just past emotional baggage. I'm reading into things that aren't there. So I saw his phone and I debated whether or not I should look in it, and I was kind of sitting there and tapping my fingers, and finally I snatched it and I went into the bathroom and I shut the door, and I was clicking around on his phone. He had a touch screen. It was a smartphone. I didn't really know how to use it, but I found the text messages and began to read them.
And without telling us what they said, it was based on those text messages in Mr. Alexander's phone that you believed he was not being faithful with you.
Yes.
Was there a particular person you believed that he was dating after you saw these text messages?
No, there weren't too many names. There were just a lot of phone numbers, and it wouldn't have been a person. It was several people, many different phone numbers.
So this trip, when we see this photograph, you talk about acting as a couple, but you're miserable. You say you've done this because the trip was already planned and you don't want to cause any chaos or any problems. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. This trip with him in New York, how long was it?
Don't understand.
I think we flew out on June 18th or something and got back, I want to say like a week. I don't recall exactly.
Okay. Was there sexual interaction between you two on this trip?
I think there was, but I don't recall specifics.
Why do you say you think there was?
Because there usually was when we traveled.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you, on these travels, did you share the same hotel room?
Pantoufle.
Same bed?
Yes.
2 months. Congrats. Enjoy the yellow badge.
Were you in love with Travis in
Your
this
actor
photograph?
state crowned
Yes.
a golden milestone. Pew.
I'll show you what's been marked. This is exhibit 432.
Queen Olive, congrats on the 2 months.
Where was this taken?
Congrats.
It's called the Sacred Grove, and it's in Palmyra, New York.
Could you describe for us, for those of us who don't know, what is the Sacred Grove?
The Sacred Grove is an important place in the history of the church because it was where Joseph Smith received what's called the first vision, where he was in this grove praying. I think it was in 1820 or somewhere around there. And two heavenly beings appeared before him, and it was the Father and Jesus Christ.
Okay. So as a member of the Mormon Church, you wanted to visit this place, is that correct?
Yes,
Would it be considered a romantic spot to you or for members of your church?
I think my understanding is that a lot of church members get engaged when they go there, and Travis had complained that that was a cliche before going, so I wasn't expecting any kind of romantic interaction.
You mean you weren't expecting a proposal?
Definitely not a proposal, not after reading in his phone.
But as it relates to you seeing what you saw on his phone prior to the trip, did Travis know about this during this trip?
That I knew.
Did he know that he'd been caught?
No, I didn't tell him.
So for 7 days then on this trip, you grin and bear it, so to speak, because you don't want to cause any kind of fight or any kind of confrontation during that week, right?
Yeah, more or less.
For sure.
And I say specifically related to his being unfaithful. You didn't bring that up the whole week.
No,
The trip itself, was it then harmonious or were there fights anyway?
we did have a fight in Ohio.
I mean, who doesn't fight in Ohio, though?
It was just a little, I don't remember. It was an argument, and he kept asking me throughout the trip, what's wrong, and I just kept saying nothing. I was trying to just act like nothing, everything was
Bowling
okay.
for Soup says, there's nothing wrong with Ohio except for the snow and the rain.
What was your
Maybe some of
plan
them
in
do.
your mind? Were you gonna just break up with him when you got back to California? Did you have a plan?
My initial plan when I found the phone, or the text messages in the phone, was to break up with him. I didn't want to cause a lot of drama at Dave's house, so I decided we would wait till we got back to Mesa. And then we got to Mesa. Travis was kind of domineering, so I didn't want to, I was worried about confronting him. He got very upset last time I even hinted at it without
I've
even
written that
accusing him of
case
anything.
for a podcast.
So,
Hang on a second, Jody, before you get too far down the road. You said when you returned to Mesa, weren't you still living at Big Sur at the end of
yeah,
this trip?
I'm sorry, we flew to LAX that time. So then we had the Huntington Beach thing, and then we had Disneyland one more time, and then I was gonna do it.
Okay. So obviously, you didn't have to be back at your job at Big Sur for an extended period of time, right?
Yeah, about a week, I think I took off.
Okay. But you said you landed and you went to Disneyland and that sort of thing. You didn't have a job to go back to,
I did.
but you still had some days off in
Yes.
LA?
Yes, we had four nights, 5 days in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
Actually, we need to add
Huntington
Sheena
Beach
Hubers to the sidebar list.
Trip, that was
For sure.
work-related, is
Wowzers.
that right? Prepaid legal?
Yeah, it was a reward, being work-related.
Okay. Was it strictly a vacation or was it also a meeting?
It was mostly vacation, mostly leisure. There was like maybe a few speeches given, but it wasn't centered on training or anything like that.
Did you and Mr. Alexander share a hotel room when you stayed in Huntington Beach?
Yes,
Was there sexual activity during that meeting at Huntington Beach?
I believe there was.
I think the part that's hard to understand, Jody, is this idea that you just
Just one
didn't
thing?
end it.
Objection, vouching, hard to understand.
Okay, no.
Rephrase.
Explain to us why after a trip to New York, you're grinning and bearing it, you get back to California, why are you still willing to put up with this?
I think I was in denial at the time. I knew it was going on, and I think it was a convenient reason to deny it because we had this vacation that was paid for. There was no refunding it. If we had changed flights and things like that, it would have cost even more fees.
But I'm talking about when you got back to Huntington Beach. You're
Well-
back. You're back from New York. There's no flight. There's nothing.
I mean, I couldn't imagine him kicking him off the trip and saying, "Get out of my room." He was there, and
Why not?
we had friends that there's a lot of things to do in Huntington Beach. There are shops on the sidewalks and restaurants, and there's the beach itself, and there were pools and
Okay.
hot tubs.
It's a great place, and I'm sure both of you wanted to be there, and Travis probably wanted to be there. But that doesn't really get to my question. My question is, why aren't you done with him at that point in time? Why don't you kick him out of your room?
I didn't have a lot of self-esteem at that time, and was kind of a doormat, and I didn't assert myself, and I was in denial.
You
and
can't handle the truth.
I knew it had to happen. I wanted to hurry up and get it over with because that was going to be the hard part. I knew the relationship couldn't continue like that. I was kind of waiting for the right moment to tell him.
And while you're waiting for the right moment, you're still, to your recollection, not specific days or times, but you're still engaging in sexual activity with him while you're waiting for this right moment, right?
Yes, on occasion.
Why was that okay with you?
Well, sometimes when we did those things, it made me feel loved, depending on how he acted during the incident.
During the sexual interaction, right?
Yeah.
You felt when you were what you seem to be telling us is that when you were engaging in sexual behavior with Mr. Alexander, you felt completely loved. By him.
At times.
At times. When you were not having
Yeah, his patience is wearing quite thin.
sexual interactions with him,
About as thin as Jody's personality.
did you also feel, to use your words, completely loved?
Objection, that was, it was.
Because why?
Counsel's words, not the witness's words. Completely loved. He used them, not.
That's exactly what she said.
Let me answer.
Will you repeat it? I'm sorry.
I'm going to try. You told us earlier that when you had these sexual interactions with Mr. Alexander, you felt completely loved, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what I was asking is, how about the times when these sexual interactions weren't going on? Did you feel that same sense of being completely loved?
There were some moments during that trip where we connected. It was actually more painful when we connected than when we didn't connect.
What do you mean by that?
Because it was a reminder of how much I loved him, and when we weren't connecting, it was easier to start distancing myself from him, even though that became kind of impossible. When we were getting along, it was almost like I could pretend that I never really saw any of those things in his phone.
I pity the fool.
At this point in time, had he told you he loved you?
Not since we had begun officially dating.
Okay.
We're getting ready to wrap it up.
Now, apart from Huntington Beach, did you
Still have to
spend,
record site.
did you and Mr. Alexander go anywhere else before you returned to Big Sur?
Yes, our friend Jeff drove us to Disneyland, to Anaheim.
Okay.
We're going to Disneyland.
And you said your friend drove you, but was this, did the three of you go to Disneyland or was it just you and Travis?
Just Travis and I, he dropped us off.
Okay. And this was this was part of the Huntington Beach trip, is that accurate?
Yeah, this is all one same trip.
Okay. And when you and Mr. Alexander were at Disneyland,
Big Daddy.
were you holding hands? Were you acting like boyfriend and girlfriend?
Somewhat. It was just kind of feel like the park didn't have the same magic as it did before because of everything that was going on.
What do you mean everything that was going on?
Inside, like my inner turmoil with the knowledge that I was, I guess, cursed with, sort of, I could say.
Okay. Did you get along okay at Disneyland or were there any arguments?
I remember us getting along pretty well.
Okay. So now this trip to Huntington Beach comes to an end. A few days later, I would assume, right? After you go to Disneyland?
Yes, after Disneyland, I don't remember where I stayed, but we hung out in Riverside for a while.
Okay. Eventually, there was going to come a point in time, or sounds like there came a point in time when you and Travis were going to part company, right?
Yes,
And from what you told us before, this seemingly was going to be the moment in time when you told him you're done, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall where you were when the two of you were to part ways?
Well, I planned to drop the bomb in Riverside when I was dropping him off at his grandmother's house. And I couldn't get up the courage to tell him.
Okay. So you say you're at his grandma's house in Riverside, you're dropping him off, and you don't have the courage to tell him.
Yes.
Are you leaving Riverside that day, or do you stay with Mr. Alexander at Riverside?
I'm leaving town and driving back to Big Sur.
Now, I believe earlier you told us that you had met his grandmother 3 times. Is that right?
I think I did meet her 3 times, but I don't remember at that point if that was the second or third time.
Okay. So you're driving back from Riverside to Big Sur, and you never have this confrontation you've been planning to have for about a week, right?
Yeah, more like 2
weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. So what's the plan then as you're driving back to Big Sur? Are you gonna call him and break up? You can write him a letter? What's the plan?
I was really mad at myself. I wanted to do it in person, and now I didn't know when I was coming back to Arizona or Southern California when I would see him again physically. So at that point, I realized it would have to be on the phone.
Did you ever then have the talk that you were dreading for so long?
Yes.
And that was over the phone?
Yes.
And tell us what you told him.
Well, I said, there's some things I want to talk to you about. And I told him that his phone has been the source of a problem. And everything came out. I told him what happened in Utah. And I apologized. I felt really bad for violating his privacy, even though I felt justified because of what I found out. And he was apologetic.
You say he was apologetic. Did you end up breaking up with him after this conversation?
The conversation evolved. His apology was weak, I thought. And I said, in an indirect way, I said, I don't think either of us is ready to be in the kind of relationship that we thought we were having.
Was that then, when you said that, was that really, or this conversation, was that really the end of yourself and Travis as a couple?
As an official couple, yes.
And so you essentially broke up that day over the phone?
Yes, that was our end date, you could say.
Okay. And when was that? Do you remember the exact date or?
Yes, I remember the date. It was June 29th,
Of 2007?
2007.
Now, after you have this
That made no sense.
breakup on June 29th, 2007, is that the last you hear of Travis Alexander?
No,
How long was it
What?
in terms of days, maybe hours if so? How long was it before you spoke with Mr. Alexander again?
he called me the next
What?
morning. He was still in Southern California.
And just so we're clear, you were in Big Sur, right?
I was in Big Sur.
And what was the subject matter of that conversation?
Well, I don't remember how it started. I think he was at his friend's house.
Not responsible is the subject of the conversation.
It's not his objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. Restate your question.
I will try.
You say he called you the next day. Do you know where he was calling you from?
I understood that he was at his friend's house, Chris and Sky's house in Southern California.
And was he wanting to get together with you? Was he wanting to continue the conversation? Tell us the subject matter of the conversation.
Oh, we're going to have to hear about the subject matter of the conversation on Wednesday. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Oh, man, y'all. Good times. Wow. Fascinating. Like, I just want to, like...
Even before you start. That was a preemptive shh. Just know I have a whole bag of shh with your name on it.
I have so many sound effects. Y'all gave me so many ideas. So many ideas. Like,
Stupid idiot.
I look forward to using that. Oh, man. All right, y'all. So here's the deal. I'm recording a sidebar tonight. It's called the Shell Lake Murders and the History of Canada's Mental Health Institution. I will be, we do need a Whip It soundtrack, don't we? I have a whole bag of shh here with your name on it, Scott. Whip it. It's gonna have to happen. Anyway, so I'm recording sidebar tonight. It is gonna go out tomorrow morning. And so you have something for Thursday or for Tuesday. And then I'm also going to be recording a second sidebar, and that will be coming out on Thursday. Of course, we will have our typical Monday, Wednesday, Friday night court, and then Sunday we pushed the perfect murder to Sunday. So you still have time to put in stories or thoughts if you would like. truecrimewinetime@gmail.com. And you can send us that in, your plans, your crazy plans. And maybe
You were the chosen one.
Maybe. We'll see. I added so many. There are so many here. I'm waiting for them to ask Jody, who was it, so I can use this one.
No, it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
One day, they're going to pull me right off the air. But until then, I'm not going to pull myself off the air. You can't. Well, they can. We've seen it. They can. So thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I will be back Wednesday. You will see me. It'll be recorded on Tuesday and Thursday. And then from there, man, it's just a whirlwind, y'all. It's a whirlwind. Thank you all for your well wishes for Stella. I appreciate it a whole bunch. Just, keep her in your thoughts. She's a good peoples. Good peoples. Anyways, thank you all. I said it again. I'll say it all the time. I appreciate you. And hey, thanks for showing up for jury duty, right? You see this? I got the gavel in my hands. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, your family, your friends. And don't forget to smile. Bye, everybody. No, I'm not stopping. Court's adjourned.